This is stupid,
Henry Waller said as he set up 3 laptops on the portable, fold-out table he'd hiked into the area.
Quit b***ing.
Callista Jones said, from her side of the safe tent they'd set up as their base of operations.
We shouldn't be here.
Henry said.
This is stupid. You've mentioned that more than a few times,
Callista responded.
3 times before we even got into the Land Rover. At least 6 or 7 times while we drove out here. And I counted 8 times during the hike alone. Ditch the mood, Henry. It's getting old. Yeah, well, making me carry all this shit didn't help the mood.
Henry protested.
You're built like a goddamn ox,
Callista said. She unlocked a small case and began taking out different pieces of camera equipment.
You can handle it. That's what everyone thinks, yet no one ever asks,
Henry said.
They look at my size and assume I have no problem being the pack mule. Isn't that on your resume?
Jasper Lyons asked as he came into the tent, wearing a level A hazmat suit with the hood undone, hanging down against his upper back.
Pack mule, whiny crybaby. Better a crybaby than a moron willing to walk into a hot zone wearing a glorified baggie,
Henry snapped.
This is pure Tyvek 400, baby,
Jasper said as he turned in a slow circle.
I'm safe as can be in this thing. You look like an idiot,
Henry said.
A soon-to-be dead idiot. You know I look hot,
Jasper said.
Admit you want a piece of this. You do look hot, but more in an overheated way than a sexy way,
Callista said. She carried a harness over to Jasper.
Arms up, beautiful. See, Henry?
Jasper said.
Cal gets it. I'm damn sexy in this thing. The only thing sexy about any of this crap is the payday,
Henry responded. So
you and your jumpsuit and that camera rig better get us the footage we need. I didn't haul my ass through a fucking war zone and out in the middle of nowhere to come back empty-handed. Get the shots and sell the mystery so we can get paid. Hey, brother, that's what I'm here for,
Jasper said.
To get the good shots and get us paid. Hold still, damn it.
Callista snapped at Jasper.
I need to tighten this, or it'll flop everywhere.
Callista clipped 2 straps up under Jasper's armpits, then cinched the straps until Jasper grunted.
I'll barely be able to move my arms,
Jasper complained.
Who's the whiny bitch now?
Henry said and laughed.
Still you,
Callista said. Then she patted Jasper on the shoulders and backed up. She twirled her fingers.
Spin around quickly. I want to see how it holds up to fast motion.
Jasper did as he was told and spun around Sound of Music style, which resulted in him almost knocking one of the laptops off the folding table.
Watch it, dipsh**.
Henry snapped.
This working for you?
Jasper asked, giving Callista a wink.
We'll see,
Callista said, and turned to face Henry.
You got that up and running yet? You got that up and running yet?
Henry responded in a snotty, mocking voice. He typed quickly at the middle laptop, then stepped back.
Bingo, bitches.
The screen on the left came to life with an image of Callista and Henry as Jasper faced the two. The screen on the right showed a blurry, whitish background. The screen in the middle was still blank.
Turn around,
Henry said. Jasper began to spin again.
No, no, no,
Henry said.
I didn't say spin, I said turn around. You know, just turn. Once. Not even a full 360, 180. Can you handle that, Jasper? Dude, you are less fun than our guide,
Jasper said, and turned to face the entrance to the tent. The right screen became a poorly framed image of Callista and Henry. The left screen became blurry and whitish.
Hey, where is Oleg?
Callista asked.
He was going back to unload the food and water, but I haven't seen him since we set the tent up. I don't know,
Jasper said and shrugged.
Don't do that,
Henry said.
Do what? Shrug?
Jasper asked.
Yeah, don't,
Henry replied.
It messes with the rig. Then it's a good thing I'll have this,
Jasper said, and turned back around so he could step over to the folding table. He slid a small case out from underneath and set it on the table. With 2 clicks, he had the case open and was pulling out a handheld camera rig that was basically a pistol grip with a GoPro bolted to the top.
Action Cam Jasper at your service,
Jasper said, and turned the camera on. The middle laptop screen came to life and showed what the handheld camera was capturing.
No, seriously, guys.
Callista said and walked to the tent entrance.
Where did Oleg go?
Who knows the mysterious ways of Ukrainians?
Jasper said in a faux spooky voice.
The dude's country has been invaded by Russia. Maybe he's taking a break and just catching his breath. That makes no sense,
Callista said, and unzipped the tent flaps.
I'll be right back. Careful out there,
Jasper said.
Don't let the scary Chernobyl wolves get you. Fuck off,
Callista said and left. She zipped the flaps back up, leaving Jasper and Henry alone together.
Okay, dude, seriously, what's up your butt?
Jasper asked Henry.
You have been mopey and moody and bitchy ever since we left the hotel yesterday. I thought a Chernobyl expedition was on your bucket list. It is.
Henry replied while he checked the 3 laptops.
Then what's the deal?
Jasper asked.
No deal,
Henry said.
I just have a bad feeling. You always have a bad feeling.
Jasper said.
You should see a gastroenterologist about that. This feeling is like Kathmandu.
Henry responded. Jasper went quiet. It was a quiet that said a lot.
You get it now?
Henry asked, when Jasper didn't say anything in response to his Kathmandu comment.
We said we wouldn't bring that up anymore,
Jasper said.
Not cool, man. I just want you to know that my bad feeling isn't because I ate some chicken Kiev that had gone off,
Henry said.
I had the same feeling in Kathmandu as I do here, and we both know how that turned out. Yeah, well, we're here,
Jasper said.
And none of us can afford to turn back now. I know,
Henry said.
That's exactly why
The entrance zipper screamed upward, and Callista burst into the tent.
He's f***ing gone!
Callista shouted.
Who?
Henry asked.
Oleg! We can hear you.
Jasper said and held his hands out, palms down, in a placating gesture.
Switch to your inside voice. F*** you, Jasper!
Callista cried.
Oleg is f***ing gone! Did he leave the food and water?
Henry asked as he rubbed his face.
Please tell me he left the... No! The only thing he left is us!
Callista yelled as she slammed her fists against her thighs.
I knew I should have watched his ass! You were!
Jasper said.
That's the problem. You've been flirting with that Slavic stud from the moment he picked us up at the hotel. Yeah, because that's how you get done in places like this,
Callista said.
Tight t-shirt, a friendly smile, maybe a light brush of the fingers on the arm. How the hell do you think I got us out of Bogota? By asking nicely? No, you idiot. I cocked a hip and pushed the girls together. That's how. I assume the Land Rover is gone too,
Henry said, sounding resigned to their fate already.
What? I don't know,
Callista said.
I didn't hike back to the road. Are you joking?
Henry replied. He threw up his hands and his fingertips pressed against the ceiling of the tent.
Careful, man,
Jasper said.
This tent cost more than Oleg's Land Rover. Where are you going?
Callista asked as Henry unzipped the tent's flaps.
This whiny pack mule is going to hike back to the road and see if Oleg is still there,
Henry said.
Which is what Cal should have done. Screw you,
Callista said as Henry left the tent and zipped the flaps back up behind him.
No way am I hiking back through radioactive woods at night alone. Whatever,
Henry shouted from outside the tent.
I guess it's just us,
Jasper said and raised an eyebrow.
Never, ever, ever going to happen, Jasper,
Callista said.
You are not my type and never will be. Too much man for you?
Jasper asked, giving her 2 thumbs up.
Too much Jasper for me. Hell yeah,
Jasper said.
That's not a compliment. Says you. Says any woman with eyes and a brain and a beating heart and I get it.
Jasper interrupted.
Jeez.
While they waited for Henry to return, Callista went through and double-checked every function of the camera rig.
Does it really have to be so tight?
Jasper asked.
If we want a stable image, then yeah.
Callista answered.
You've worn this a million times. Why are you complaining so much? It pinches under my arms in this suit,
Jasper said. After a few minutes, Callista went to the tent entrance and touched the zipper.
Maybe one of us should go look for Henry,
Callista said.
He's been gone a long...
The zipper flew up, and Callista screamed as she stumbled away from the entrance.
Just me,
Henry said, slipping inside the tent.
Oleg is in the Land Rover. He's back at the road?
Callista asked.
Why didn't he bring the water and food on that special cart of his? He was so proud of those all-terrain wheels. He caught some chatter on the radio,
Henry said.
He's staying close to the Land Rover just in case. Just in case of what?
Jasper asked.
Chernobyl wolves?
He laughed, but Henry and Callista didn't.
That's a joke,
he said.
Russians, you moron. There are reports of Russian troop movements nearby, so Oleg is going to keep an eye on things from the road. He said to stay off the radios. Stay off the radios?
Callista asked.
But how will we talk to each other when Jasper goes into the plant? I know,
Henry said.
I said the same thing to Oleg. What did our guide say?
Jasper asked.
He said to do what we want.
Henry replied.
It's our funeral. He said that? That's a lot of words for Oleg.
Callista said.
It was implied in the shrug he gave me.
Henry said.
Well, we don't do what we do because we like the safe, easy life.
Jasper said.
And there's no way I'm going into the plant without comms available.
Henry shrugged.
Can we get this show on the road or what?
Jasper said.
Might as well.
Callista said.
The sooner we get the footage, the sooner we get the hell out of here. That's something I can agree with,
Henry said.
Let's run through the cameras and... Already did, dude.
Jasper said and clapped his hands together.
No more prep. It's go time. I hate it when you say that,
Callista said. Jasper shrugged and laughed.
Look at me. I speak Ukrainian. It's all in the shoulders, I guess. What are you talking about?
Callista asked.
The shrug.
Jasper said.
Like Oleg. I shrugged in Ukrainian. Just f***ing go already.
Henry said.
And be f***ing careful. I still have a bad feeling.
It took Jasper an hour before he reached the edge of the former nuclear plant.
I can see the containment structure,
Jasper said as he stood between two gnarled and stunted trees. Brown grass blew in the breeze, tall enough to brush across Jasper's Tyvek-covered thighs.
Huh? What do you mean by huh?
Henry's voice asked over the comms.
What are you saying?
This containment structure is supposed to be sealed, right?
Jasper asked.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Henry said.
But there's a way in on the north.
Oh, there's a way in, all right.
Jasper interrupted.
And it's directly in front of me.
Twist your body to the right.
Callista said over the comms.
How's that?
Jasper asked.
Your other right.
Callista said.
Sorry.
Jasper said.
How about now?
Jesus Christ.
Callista said.
Someone blew a f***ing hole in the structure big enough to drive a tank through.
Bigger.
Jasper said.
The camera must be distorting the dimensions. You can get 2 tanks through this hole.
Let's call it.
Henry said.
What?
Jasper and Callista exclaimed at the same time.
I said we should call it.
Henry said.
This isn't supposed to be breached like that. This is not good.
Dude, chill.
Jasper responded.
I'm the guy out here, and I don't see anything worth getting worried about.
Other than the melted down nuclear reactor, you mean?
Callista said.
Well, yeah, that.
Jasper said.
But I don't see any tanks or trucks or soldiers or anything. It's quiet and dark here.
I'm still not happy about this.
Henry said.
We should cut our losses and get gone.
Hey, do you see what I'm seeing?
Jasper asked, and crept slowly closer to the broken structure that had been designed to surround the original containment sarcophagus, which in turn surrounded the reactor itself.
Jasper, do not get closer.
Henry snapped.
No, I think I see what he means.
Callista said.
Take a look at this.
Jasper said as he stopped by the first pile of rubble, his handheld camera taking in the thick pieces of broken concrete.
Something didn't break into the structure. Something broke out.
That's crazy.
Henry said.
Dude, look!
Jasper exclaimed. He lifted the camera and carefully documented what he was seeing, which was rubble strewn outward and away from the containment structure. not rubble broken up inside,
Maybe there was an explosion.
Callista said.
I'm not seeing scorch marks on any of this concrete.
Jasper said. There was silence for a moment, then Henry said,
He's right. We'd know if it was an explosion. Could be compromised structural integrity, in which case, you should not step foot inside there, Jasper.
Too late.
Jasper said as he worked his way through the rubble until he was standing directly outside the containment wall.
I'm here to do a job, and I'm gonna do that job. Wish me luck.
Then he crossed the threshold of the containment wall and entered the sealed reactor area.
Pay attention to your rads.
Callista warned.
You check that bracelet on your arm every 5 minutes. If it goes full red, then you get the out of there fast.
But I got the Tyvek, baby.
Jasper said.
Yeah, nuclear disasters don't give a about your Tyvek, dumbass.
Callista said.
If your bracelet goes red, you book it, understood?
Yes, Mom.
Jasper said.
Dick.
Callista responded. Jasper kept moving. In the darkness, with only the light from his camera rig illuminating the space, shadows stretched and warped all around Jasper. He tried not to let it bother him, but it felt like with every step he took, he was being stalked by something just out of range of his peripheral vision.
What are you doing?
Callista snapped over the comms.
Why do you keep twisting like that?
It's hard to see and move in the suit.
Jasper said.
I have to turn my whole body.
How's that Tyvek now, baby?
Henry asked.
Shut up.
Jasper said.
Still doesn't explain why you're...
Callista started to say.
What was that?
Jasper asked.
I lost you.
What was that?
Henry asked.
What was what?
Jasper replied.
Guys, you're confusing the shit out of me. What is going on?
The sound of rubble shifting echoed from directly behind Jasper. He spun about, aiming his handheld camera's light back the way he'd just come. Nothing.
Guys? Guys, you there?
Jasper asked. There was no response.
Guys!
Jasper shouted.
Guys!
Came an echo of his voice. Jasper whirled around, his camera aiming this way and that way and all over.
Guys, this is not funny.
Jasper said. His breathing became ragged, and Jasper desperately wanted to yank the hood off his suit and take in a lungful of some cold, fresh air. But he knew if he did, that where he stood, he'd also die where he stood. The statistic was a person could live for approximately 5 minutes before he or she started to hemorrhage internally and bleed out. That was if the person's brain didn't boil in their head first. Although, Jasper wasn't sure that last part was real. He'd heard it from a guy at the bar the last...
Jasper, can you hear me?
Callista called over the comms.
Jesus, there you are.
Jasper replied.
What the happened?
Henry thought he heard something outside and went to look.
Callista said.
Then the comms went out, and I've been trying to fix them.
They're fixed now.
Jasper said.
What did Henry find?
I don't know.
Callista said.
He hasn't come back.
Is he answering his radio?
Jasper asked. With a voice back on the other end of the comms, Jasper felt a little more confident and started walking deeper into the containment structure.
He's not answering his radio or replying when I yell for him.
Callista said.
But I probably shouldn't be yelling if Russians are around.
Or so Oleg says.
Jasper replied.
I bet the guy is fishing for a higher payout. He's making it look like we need to give him danger pay.
We're in a f***ing war zone outside Chernobyl.
Callista said.
Danger pay is the only pay around here.
You know what I mean,
Jasper said. He rounded a corner and froze.
What is it? What'd you see?
Callista asked.
How'd you know I saw something?
Jasper said.
The way you stopped short there.
Callista said.
Turn a little to your left. Your other left.
Can you see it?
Jasper whispered. Before him was a huge concrete wall. There were doorways cut into the lower half, but the rest of the wall stretched up at least 6 stories. Jasper craned his neck, but everything above was lost to darkness and impossible to see. Except what was on the concrete wall was not impossible to see.
Is that an outline of a bird?
Callista asked.
If it is, it's a big bird.
Jasper said. He took a step closer and lifted the handheld higher.
The GoPro signal just went out.
Callista said.
It's still recording to the internal storage.
Jasper replied.
Yes, but I can't see anything on my end.
Callista said.
Angle your body rig up just a bit. A little bit more. There. Hold still for about 30 seconds so we get it all.
This is not a comfortable position.
Jasper said.
Position.
An echo replied.
What the f***?
Jasper cried as he spun around. Only darkness greeted him from behind.
What are you doing?
Callista asked.
I said 30 seconds.
I heard something.
Jasper said.
Or someone.
Did you just say someone?
Callista asked.
It's probably an echo.
Jasper said, more to convince himself than to explain to Callista.
Yeah, just an echo of my voice. Voice.
Another echo replied.
Own voice. Echo. Oh, no.
Jasper whispered.
That's not how echoes work.
What is that?
Callista asked.
I don't know.
Jasper snapped.
But I'm leaving. Someone is in here with me, and I refuse to die by some sick, sadistic Russian dillhole's hands. Not happening.
Henry? Is that you?
Callista asked.
Cal, did you hear me? I'm bailing.
Jasper said, and started to retrace his steps.
Cal? Henry? Anyone?
Hold on, Jasper.
Callista said.
Henry, stop fucking about. Get your ass in. Oh my God!
Static exploded in Jasper's ear, and he pawed at the Tyvek hood, then froze as he realized he was about to kill himself if he removed the hood. So he crouched down and waited out the static, despite the piercing agony it produced in his head. Then it all went quiet, except for a ringing in his ears.
Cal?
Jasper whispered.
Cal, you there?
Jasper waited, but there was no response.
Henry, can you hear me?
Jasper called. A clatter of concrete rubble got Jasper to his feet. He turned left. He turned right. He spun in every direction, the lights from his cameras making shadows dance and leap and reach for him.
Hell!
He cried, trying not to panic.
Guys! Guys! Guys!
The echo replied.
Shut the f*** up!
Jasper yelled. Then he stopped spinning and froze in place once again. He angled the handheld rig up at the concrete wall. There was no outline of a bird anymore.
Wrong wall,
Jasper said to himself. He turned to his left, but the wall in that direction was very different from the one he'd seen the bird outline on. He turned to the right, and there was a long concrete tunnel that had caved in halfway down in that direction. Jasper looked back the way he'd come. Nothing there either.
This can't be the wall,
Jasper said to himself.
I must have panicked and moved into a different space. Different space.
A voice cackled from behind Jasper.
Space.
Jasper turned and saw nothing except darkness. Then he realized that the darkness was moving. It was undulating like it was alive.
Oh, no.
Jasper said, and backed away from whatever he was looking at.
Shit, no.
The undulating darkness responded. Jasper turned and ran.
No.
Echoed from behind him. Jasper's lights caught the outline of one of the doors set into the concrete wall. He sprinted straight for it and was almost there when his feet slid on some chunks of debris. Jasper came crashing down hard, but panic refused to let him lay there. Hand over hand, Jasper crawled through the door until he was on the other side. Then he rolled himself to the side, sat up, and shoved his back against the wall. Terrified that the sound of his breath would betray him, Jasper held the air in his lungs for as long as he could as he listened for signs of whatever it was that he'd seen. But all he could hear was his pulse pounding in his ears as his lungs grew tighter and tighter. Jasper had to let out the bad air and take a deep breath. When he had oxygen in his lungs once more, Jasper tried to calm himself down.
Just a shadow,
Jasper thought.
And only echoes. Big space, weird that makes shadows and echoes.
Jasper didn't believe a word of what he told himself. He counted to 30. Then he counted to 30 again. On the 5th round of counting to 30, Jasper stood up. He inched to the doorway, then leaned slowly out to take a look at the way he'd come. The shadow struck, and Jasper was knocked off his feet and sent flying back a good 20 yards. Pain exploded in his back as he slammed into a metal railing, still semi-attached to a concrete walkway that had fallen from above. Moaning and close to losing his mind, Jasper found a gap between the collapsed walkway and the floor. Without hesitation, Jasper crawled through the gap and made himself as small as he could get in his hazmat suit. But even hidden under the collapsed walkway, Jasper still had a view through the gap and could see his side of the concrete wall. The shadow was squeezing itself through one of the doors. Then it was inside and standing there.
A f***ing bird?
Jasper mumbled, then bit his tongue at his mistake, hoping the thing hadn't hurt him. The shadow stood tall and spread its wide, pure black wings. Part of the thing moved where Jasper assumed the thing's head was. Then it crouched low, and two pitch-black eyes gleamed in his direction.
No.
The huge shadow bird, or whatever it was, cawed. Then it moved in fast, and Jasper finally realized he still had the lights on.
Fuck!
He shouted and scrambled to switch them off. But he couldn't get them off before a massive eye filled the gap between the floor and the collapsed walkway. A black iris held a black pupil, which made up the entire black eye that stared at Jasper. The comms crackled to life.
Is someone there?
A gruff voice asked.
Hello there. Is this Jasper?
Oleg. Jasper was so glad to hear someone on the comms that he almost replied, but he'd learned that lesson already and remained quiet. Not that it mattered much. The eye blinked, but Jasper almost missed it because the bird or creature or whatever it was had eyelids just as black as the rest of it. A screech from out in the reactor made Jasper's bladder clench, and he fought to keep from pissing his suit. A second screech called out and the eye disappeared.
No,
Is what Jasper heard as the bird or creature or whatever retreated, called by the far-off screech.
Is this Jasper?
Oleg's voice asked over the comms.
Hello there.
Oleg,
Jasper whispered.
I can hear you.
Ah, there is the Jasper.
Oleg replied.
I begin to think you are dead, man.
Still could be.
Jasper whispered.
Where are Callista and Henry?
What that?
Oleg responded.
I barely hear you.
Callista and Henry.
Jasper said a little louder.
Where are they?
Gone.
Oleg said.
Taken by a shadow.
A shadow?
Jasper asked.
Fuck. Did it look like a bird?
Large bird.
Oleg answered.
Very large bird.
That doesn't make sense.
Jasper said.
I saw it too. It was here with me.
More than one bird.
Oleg said. Jasper swallowed hard. His whole body shook with a shiver of fear.
If one is here,
Jasper mused.
maybe they live here.
The Jasper should leave.
Oleg said.
You leave and go west for 3 kilometers. I meet Jasper on the road.
Yeah, but what if that thing brought Callista and Henry here?
Jasper said.
I couldn't find them.
The Callista and the Henry dead.
Oleg said.
You saw them die?
Jasper asked. It was a question he never wanted to ask, but he always knew he would have to one day, considering the situations they got themselves into.
No, I see blood.
Oleg replied.
A lot of blood.
That doesn't mean...
Jasper said, then jerked his head as noise exploded over the comms. Gunshots. Automatic fire. When the gunshots ended, Jasper waited a few seconds, then called.
Oleg?
There was no response. A screech echoed through the containment structure. It was answered by a smaller screech. Then Jasper distinctly heard.
No. This is not Kathmandu,
Jasper said.
I won't let it be.
Jasper eased his suited bulk out from under the collapsed walkway. He stood slowly, checking every inch of the suit he could reach and see. It was hard to tell, but Jasper was pretty sure the suit hadn't ripped or been breached. The bracelet on his wrist was a yellowish green. Jasper pivoted left, then right, and finally saw a second tunnel he'd missed before. A tunnel that was not caved in halfway down.
Come on.
Jasper said as he switched all the camera lights back on. since he never could get all of them off anyway. With pure terror in his belly, Jasper took a few steps toward the tunnel.
Come on, come on!
He said again. Then a screech echoed from down the tunnel, and Jasper knew for sure which way to go. He headed off, his handheld camera up, his body rig lighting the way. As Jasper went further and further down the tunnel, he noticed his footsteps were getting quieter and quieter. He paused and looked down, lifting his boots up one by one. What dripped and slid off his boots looked like bird crap, except it was pitch black, just like the few feathers that were strewn around the tunnel's floor. If Jasper had been on the fence about what he was dealing with, that fence collapsed under the evidence beneath him.
F***ing bird,
he whispered. A screech called out and was met with a second screech. Both came from dead ahead. At that point, Jasper could have turned back around. He knew he should turn back around. That was smart. That was self-preservation. Jasper was all about being smart, and he was even more about self-preservation. But in the back of his mind, all he heard was Oleg saying that Callista and Henry were gone. And despite the narcissistic persona Jasper liked to present to the world, his colleagues, his friends, meant everything to him. No, it would not be another Kathmandu. He would not allow it to be. Jasper picked up his pace and hurried down the tunnel, careful not to slide in either the bird or slip on an errant feather. When he reached the end of the tunnel, the space opened into a massive chamber-like enclosure. Jasper had studied the schematics for Chernobyl. The original schematics of the plant and the schematics for the subsequent enclosures built around the reactor in order to contain the massive amounts of radiation still emitting from the melted core. None of those schematics matched what Jasper was looking at. He had no idea where he was. What he did know was there was a pile of concrete about 20 feet high in front of him, and perched on top of that pile was what Jasper could only describe as, well, a nest. It would have been comical if it wasn't so terrifying. The nest was made of not twigs and little branches, but the trunks of entire trees. And not small trees, not saplings. Fully grown, mature trees were twisted and bent around each other to create the nest. Jasper had witnessed a lot of strange shit over the years hunting mysteries with Henry and Callista, but he'd never seen a nest so big you could sit a house inside it. Then the debate began to war in Jasper's head. Did he climb up the pile and try to get a look inside the nest? Or did he turn tail and get out of Chernobyl like he should have done in the first place? The debate continued until Jasper heard a noise that sent his stomach up into his throat.
Please no,
Callista's voice said so quietly that Jasper had thought he'd imagined it at first.
please no.
The voice said again. The voice was followed by the distinct sound of crunching and cracking, which was then followed by a solid, wet plop.
Please no.
The voice echoed through the massive chamber.
I'm coming, Callista.
Jasper thought, as he tucked his handheld camera into his belt, then reached up and took hold of the highest hunk of concrete he could reach. Hand over gloved hand, Jasper made his way to the bottom edge of the nest. He studied the twisted tree trunks and saw a way up. It wouldn't be easy, but Jasper had climbed worse. The trick was doing it so he didn't rip his suit. With careful handhold by careful handhold, and very slow, deliberate placement of his boots, Jasper was able to get himself up to the lip of the nest. He was exhausted, he was terrified, and he felt like a fool for taking the risk he was taking. But he didn't stop. Neither did the crunching, the cracking, and the occasional wet plops. Jasper started to reach his gloved hand over the lip of the nest, then paused. He realized he didn't need to literally rush headfirst into danger. Jasper wedged his body up against two tree trunks so he could securely get the leverage he needed to take the handheld camera from his belt. Then he switched on the light, made sure the camera was recording, and eased it up over the lip of the nest. There were some muffled screeches, and the crunching paused briefly, but then the sounds returned to their previous rhythm. Jasper let the camera record for 20 seconds before he lowered it back down and fumbled at the controls. It was difficult with the gloves, but Jasper managed to rewind the footage a bit in order to see what he'd recorded. The vomit made it from his stomach up into his throat, then paused just as it pressed against his lips. Jasper slowly swallowed his own sick as he stared at what he saw on the GoPro's video screen. Callista's body was torn apart and strewn about the nest while two things pecked at it and devoured her, piece by piece by piece. The only reason Jasper knew it was Callista was because of the bloody shirt that hung from a snapped branch on one of the trees that made up the nest, and her severed head that was sitting upside down on the far side of the nest, close to one of the thing's black talons. Then one of the black beaks opened, letting bits of flesh and drops of blood fall to the bottom of the nest as it said,
Please no.
Jasper fought vomit once more. He won the second time, though. Then he took several slow, quiet breaths and got himself together. Callista was dead. That realization hit Jasper hard. He'd told himself that he wouldn't let another Kathmandu happen, but what he saw, what he'd gotten himself into, was way worse than Kathmandu. Jasper stopped the playback of the footage and put the camera back on his belt. He started slowly back down the concrete pile until he was on the chamber floor once again. Yes, Callista was dead, and she died in a horrible, horrible way. But Henry could still be out there somewhere, and that was what Jasper held in the front of his mind as he took slow, deliberate steps back to the tunnel. Except he was having a hard time finding the tunnel. He looked all about, but the space was so massive that even the bright lights of the camera rig were having a hard time illuminating distinct features. So Jasper walked in the direction his instincts told him the tunnel would be found. But the tunnel wasn't there. It was nowhere to be seen. Where the tunnel should have been was just darkness. A huge blob of darkness. Jasper took a couple of steps back and looked up instead of side to side. There, about 30 feet or so up, Jasper saw something dangling. It was hard to tell what it was or why it was there, but Jasper saw it and knew it hadn't been there before. Then the sound of dripping reached his ears through the Tyvek hood. Jasper angled his view to the chamber floor, and the camera lights instantly picked up the red staining the concrete. Blood. A lot of blood. Jasper took several more steps back, knowing he had to widen his perspective.
Oh, me.
Jasper muttered when he realized what he was looking at. Mama Bird had returned to the nest, and in her huge beak was a body that was dripping blood like a leaky faucet. Mama Bird was bringing more food for her babies. Mama Bird was bringing them Henry. Jasper continued to retreat from the huge creature.
No,
Echoed from behind Jasper.
Please no, please no, please no, please no.
Joined the echo. Mama Bird responded by tossing Henry's corpse high into the air. Jasper craned his neck to see where it landed, but the suit blocked his view. The distinct thump of a body hitting the bottom of the nest, followed by happy screeches and then cracking, crunching, and wet plops, told Jasper that Mama had found her mark. And that's when all thought of rescue or self-preservation, or anything rational really, left Jasper's head. He turned and ran screaming. He had no idea which way he was going. He had no idea if he was running deeper into the containment structure or if he was running to safety. But run is what Jasper did, until his legs went out from under him and he fell face first onto the ground. He lay there for several minutes, expecting a giant beak to pierce his suit and dig straight into his back. When death didn't cleave him in two, Jasper got up onto his hands and knees. Then when he still did not get murdered by a pitch-black demon bird the size of a city bus, Jasper stood up. He was outside the containment structure. Despite fleeing in blind terror, Jasper had gotten himself not only outside, but he was a good 50 yards inside the stunted and gnarled tree line. He'd tripped over a root, and off to Jasper's left, he could just make out the dawn of light filtering down through the bald branches. He'd survived the night. He'd survived Chernobyl. And he knew which direction west was. Oleg had said to head west and meet him on the road. So with the dawn to his back, Jasper hiked and hiked, pushing his bone-tired body and weak legs to the very limits of his endurance. Then he saw the road and ducked deep so he could sprint the last few yards.
Stay there.
A voice called out, and the distinct sound of a rifle being charged reached Jasper's ears. Without even being asked, Jasper held his hands above his head as he froze in place. Then he saw the Land Rover and the man standing next to it with an AK-47 in his hands and blood on his jacket.
The Jasper?
Oleg asked.
Lord of the Above, you made it.
Holy
Jasper said, then fell to his knees.
Holy
Stay there.
Oleg said, and was lost in sight from behind the Land Rover. When he returned, he had a bright yellow canister in his hands instead of the rifle. It looked like a fire extinguisher, but slightly different.
You will hold still.
Oleg said, and then Jasper found himself enveloped in a thick white vapor. Once the vapor had dissipated, Jasper was held up onto his knees and his hood was pulled off. Air had never tasted so good, and Jasper gulped it in.
We get you out of suit.
Oleg said. He did not wait for Jasper to agree and just began to tear the suit off Jasper's body. When free of the suit, Jasper only stood there in his t-shirt and thin pants and shivered in the morning chill.
Here,
Oleg said and tossed Jasper a backpack.
I saved some of your gear. Clothes in that.
Jasper managed to get the backpack unzipped and yanked out a pair of jeans and a flannel shirt. They were Henry's, not his, but he didn't care. When dressed, Oleg guided Jasper into the passenger seat of the Land Rover.
Not mine,
Oleg said when he got into the driver's seat and saw Jasper staring at the blood on his clothes.
Russian blood.
Okay,
was all Jasper could say.
Now we get you to airport and we leave this place.
Oleg said.
we?
Jasper asked as Oleg pulled the Land Rover out onto the road and floored it.
B,
Oleg said and smiled.
I have laptops. I even have the Jasper GoPro in box in case of radiation.
Then he looked at Jasper and turned that smile on him.
I have footage of Monster and you have client with money. We now partners.
We now partners.
Jasper said, and rested his head against the window.
That isn't as great as you think. Believe me.
Jasper closed his eyes, then shot them back open as images of the nest and its horrors flashed through his mind.
I never been to New York.
Oleg said.
That is where client is, yes? Yep.
Jasper said.
Then we go to airport and fly to New York, so we get rich with camera footage.
Oleg said, his smile wider and wider with every word.
Airport is good,
Jasper said.
but coffee is better.
Coffee?
Oleg said.
Strong coffee.
Jasper said as his eyes closed, then shot back open again.
So I never sleep again.
Never sleep again.
Oleg said and laughed.
Americans are funny. You see bad things and you get all sad. Ukrainians see bad things every day and we keep going.
Good for you.
Jasper said.
Good for you.
Then he leaned his head against the window once more and stared down the road as the dawn light brought on the day. He fought sleep and fought it, but knew he would lose. So he straightened up and looked at Oleg.
You ever been to Kathmandu?
Jasper asked.
No, never.
Oleg replied.
Then I've got a story for you.
Jasper said and started talking. He kept talking until they reached the airport. The rotor noise makes it impossible to hear each other, despite the fact I was promised we'd be traveling in one of those stealth helicopters. Hell knows I paid a fortune for the damn perk.
Oh yes, Mr. Lawson. This is stealth.
The pilot had assured me and my group before we took off from the rundown airport just outside the containment zone.
They will not hear us coming.
I have serious doubts about that, as I watched two of my colleagues struggle to hold a conversation. We weren't even offered headphones, so we could talk over the radio or comms or whatever they call it. We've spent maybe 2 hours in the air when the pilot shouts something and gives us all a thumbs up.
What did he say?
Torsten Collins asks as he leans across the bench seat to shout close to my ear.
I don't know.
I shout back, then pat Torsten's arm and lean across the small gap between the two bench seats that make up the passenger hold of the helicopter. Our guide, Mikhail Goransky, has his eyes closed, and I go to tap him on the knee. His hand shoots out and grips my wrist just as my fingertips are about to touch his fatigues.
He said we will arrive shortly.
Mikhail says without opening his eyes. He lets go of my wrist.
Sit back, relax. You have nothing to worry about. Never said I was worried.
I shout over the rotor noise. His eyes open, and he fixes me with a hard stare. The ice blue of his irises catches what little light the hold has, and I smile at him, giving him that grin that has won me hundreds of court cases back in Connecticut. Mikhail doesn't grin back.
You sound worried,
Mikhail says.
How can you tell over all this stealth?
I laugh. He doesn't laugh. Mikhail's a tough cookie, that's for sure. But so am I, and so are my colleagues. Collectively, we have over 75 years of legal experience and are the partners of one of the most successful litigation law firms in the tri-state area. None of us even flinch when we go on head-to-head with the big Manhattan firms. And between us, we've gone big game hunting on every single continent in the world. I've personally bagged 2 bull elephants, and both of them were probably bigger than the house Mikhail lives in. So, tough cookie or not, he's picked the wrong group to try to intimidate.
You said you served.
Randolph Black says from the same bench seat as Mikhail. He leans in close to the man, a move I've watched him do a million times during depositions.
Why aren't you serving now? Your country's at war with the Russians. Arvi?
Mikhail responds, twisting his neck slowly so he faces Randolph head-on.
I had not noticed.
To his credit, Randolph does not ease back even a millimeter. He simply nods and waits. Mikhail waits as well, and I'm busy watching this standoff when the helicopter suddenly lurches to the right. Randolph grabs a strap that hangs from the ceiling. I brace my arm against the door on my side. Mikhail sighs and stands up. He pushes past Randolph and squeezes his bulk between the gap in the pilot and co-pilot's seats. Randolph gives me and Torsten that look he gets when he's annoyed by a waiter or dealing with a new caddy. Torsten leans close to me again.
Randy is out for blood,
he shouts in my ear.
Mikhail better get back on his good side. Yeah, it'd be a shame if there was an accident.
We smirk and laugh. Randolph purses his lips and nods. He may not be able to hear us, but I can tell he knows what we're saying. Getting on Randolph's bad side is not a smart move for anyone. While hunting in Madagascar, Randolph pistol-whipped a teenager for sneezing just before he was going to take a shot. He yanked that .45 from his hip and slammed the butt into the kid's temple like he was trying to crush a roach. We all heard the crunch just before the kid collapsed into the dirt. The other guides were like his uncles or something. Who knows with these people? And they picked that kid up and walked him the mile or so to the waiting trucks. It set us back 3 hours that day, and you can be sure I deducted that from our payment. Plus a little extra for the blown shot the kid caused. I never did find out what happened to that teenager. He's probably drooling into a cup in some thatched hut while pissing his pants every time someone reaches for their hip. Maybe he learned his lesson. I hope so. Otherwise, he needs to just call it a day and give that drool cup to someone worthwhile.
What's so funny?
Randolph yells across from me.
Madagascar.
Randolph smirks, then looks at Mikhail as he retakes his seat.
What?
Mikhail asks, seeing Randolph staring at him.
Do you have more insight into my country's troubles? That's why they called the fight between the Protestants and the Catholics in Northern Ireland.
James shouts. I lean forward so I can see him past Torsten. He's wedged himself into the corner by his door and looks pretty damn comfortable. I swear, that man can look relaxed anywhere in the world, no matter the circumstances.
What the hell are you talking about?
I yell.
The IRA, the Irish. They called the war the Troubles. I am not Irish,
Mikhail says.
No, I suppose you aren't.
James responds with a nod.
Just making a comment on your comment. Comments on comments,
Randolph says and pumps his fist in the air.
Comments on comments.
The rest of us shout and pump our own fists. Except for Torsten. He's half a second late.
What was that?
Mikhail asks, looking back and forth between us. He doesn't look confused. He doesn't even look interested in our answer. From my decades of observing human behavior, I'd say he's the kind of guy who doesn't like to be left out of something.
It's an inside joke,
I tell him. He frowns.
a joke only the four of us understand. Although Torsten always f***s it up. A waste of a joke then if only 4 people know it.
Mikhail says, and closes his eyes as he leans back against the seat.
He will land very soon. How soon?
Torsten asks.
Very soon.
Mikhail replies.
Do not worry. No one is worried.
I snap. Randolph frowns at me. I roll my eyes. He rolls his.
Good.
Randolph says to Mikhail.
We didn't pay for a helicopter ride. We paid to hunt some wolves.
Mikhail doesn't respond.
Hey, did you hear me?
Randolph says louder.
We're paying to hunt wolves, so we'd better get to that sooner rather than later.
Mikhail holds up his right thumb, then lets it fall back into his lap. Randolph and I roll our eyes at each other again. Some people inflate their place in life, and Mikhail seems to be one of the unfortunates who believes his place is on equal footing with those who pay for his services. It'd be awful if he accidentally found out how wrong he is. The rotor noise changes, and the smooth but loud whir turns to a high-pitched whine.
See?
Mikhail says.
You'll get yours sooner, rather than later. That's not exactly the correct response to that phrase,
Torsten says. Mikhail shrugs. The helicopter banks to the right, then begins to slowly turn until we are over what looks like an empty field. It's hard to tell in the darkness. My assumption is proven correct the moment we touch down, and Mikhail rushes to open the passenger hold and drops a set of steps for us. All I can see is dead grass lit up by the almost full moon above. I hop out and stay low until I'm free of the rotor space. Then I straighten up and look around. Yep, nothing but an empty field.
I wonder what grew here,
James asks, sauntering up to me.
You know, before. Before the nuclear plant went boom?
Randolph asks, joining us.
It didn't go boom.
Torsten says from right behind Randolph.
It melted down, causing a chain reaction, which did in turn cause several large explosions. But it wasn't like the nuclear accident was an explosion itself. There was no mushroom cloud. How many of us here asked for all that useless information?
I reply, looking at my colleagues.
Raise your hand if that's what you care about right now. I only care about bagging some mutant wolves,
Randolph says.
Same,
James says. I make a sad, mocking face and look at Torsten.
Sorry, Torsty, but no one gives a shit about trivia time,
I say.
You guys are assholes,
Torsten responds, but not in a hurt way.
And they aren't mutants. They just live in a high radiation zone. Good to know,
Randolph replies.
I still only care about bagging mutant wolves. I swear,
Torsten says with an exaggerated sigh. Torsten's used to getting picked on. There is always one in a group, and Torsten's our one. The helicopter completely powers down, and we wait out in the middle of the empty field for Mikhail, the pilot, and co-pilot to unload our gear. We all check our watches, any one of which costs more than the helicopter we flew in on.
6 minutes,
Randolph says.
4,
Torsten says.
I'll go with 4 too.
I say.
You can't do that.
Torsten protests.
Pick your own damn number, Tim. Fine,
I say and flip him off.
4 minutes, 30 seconds. I'll take 5.
James says. We continue to stare at our watches until the last of our bags are placed in front of us.
I win.
Randolph says.
6 minutes and 8 seconds. You time us?
Mikhail asks, not even close to out of breath from hustling back and forth from the helicopter with our hunting gear.
You think we are game? Everything is a game,
Randolph says.
especially you. I see,
Mikhail says, then kneels next to a ratty old canvas duffel bag that is definitely not owned by any of us. The man unzips the bag and carefully pulls out a rifle wrapped in an oilcloth which he sets in the field's damp, dead grass. We all share a look.
You hunting with us?
Randolph asks.
With you?
Mikhail replies.
No.
And what's with the rig?
James asks. Mikhail doesn't respond. He unrolls the oilcloth and reveals an immaculate Winchester 308.
Nice looking gun.
Torsten says.
Is it enough for wolves? I'd want a little more punch. The 308 does what it needs to do,
Mikhail says as he slowly and carefully inspects his weapon from stock to barrel.
Jesus, are we playing bet the rifle? Or are we going to hunt some goddamn Chernobyl wolves?
Randolph snaps, then steps past Mikhail to his gun case.
Tempus fugit, people. That means time flies.
Torsten says to Mikhail. Mikhail looks up and raises an eyebrow at Torsten.
Yes, I speak Latin.
Mikhail says.
Omni bonum lisqui expectant. Yeah, well, we didn't pay to wait for the good to come to us, did we?
Randolph says.
In fact, we sure as hell did not pay to wait at all. Let's get a move on. Of course,
Mikhail says and stands up. With his rifle slung, Mikhail bends and rolls up his oilcloth. He holds it out, and the co-pilot runs over and picks up the duffel bag, then takes the oilcloth from him as he gives Mikhail a slight nod. We all share another look, but none of us say anything as we quickly move to our respective gun cases. I place my thumb against the first lock pad and it flips open. I do that 3 more times along the front of the case until I have the entire thing unlocked and opened. Inside sits my baby. Originally, it was a stock Azure Safari Lux, but I have added a few special modifications making the gun one of a kind, in my opinion. Both James and Torsten use a version of the Krieghof Classic. They've modified theirs too. But for Randolph, who just can't be run-of-the-mill, as he likes to say, he sports a Rigby Rising Bite double rifle that he had custom fitted. He traveled to and from his gunsmith in Vienna for over a year before they had the measurements precisely dialed in. From the distance between his cheekbone to the end of his chin, to taking a silicone mold of his shoulder in various outfits, he made sure the gun fit him and him alone. Then, even after all that, it was another 18 months before the gun could be built. Then, and I'm not kidding you, he spent 6 more months of back and forth travel as they made sure the build was completed to specifications. And the Rigby company is in the UK. He could have gone directly to them in London, but that's not Randolph. No, Randolph has a gunsmith in Vienna, so he flies to Vienna. And we're talking Vienna, Austria, not Vienna, Virginia, in case there's any misunderstanding.
What do you like to kill with that?
Mikhail asks Randolph.
Anything in my sights.
Randolph replies, standing up with the rifle casually hanging from the crook of his right arm. Then he slowly brings it up so the barrel is aimed dead center on Mikhail's chest. Our guide says nothing.
How much do we need to carry in?
Torsten asks Mikhail.
None.
Mikhail says without turning away from Randolph.
The helicopter will meet us at our first stop. They will carry everything for you.
Finally, some service worth our money.
James says and laughs.
So we bring nothing?
Randolph asks, still facing off with Mikhail. I can tell the other two are getting uncomfortable with Randolph's brazen disregard for Mikhail's safety. I don't blame them. So am I. It's a little early to shoot the help. We need to at least bag a wolf first. But that's Randolph for you.
How about we practice some firearm safety and aim at the ground, Randy?
I suggest.
Mikhail has nothing to worry about.
Randolph says.
I'm a professional. Have you been paid to kill before?
Mikhail asks.
Only in the courtroom,
Randolph says. He waits a beat, then bursts out laughing and moves the barrel's aim away from Mikhail.
I'm just f***ing with you. I'd never shoot our guide before the hunt begins. But the hunt already has begun.
Mikhail responds, his eyes still on Randolph and the rifle.
How do you mean?
Torsten asks. Mikhail shrugs.
Follow me.
Then he sets off at a fast clip across the dark field. Behind us, the helicopter starts back up and preps for liftoff.
Hey, I only have about 24 rounds.
Torsten says to Mikkel's back.
Hello? I said I only have about 24 rounds. The pilots took the rest when they loaded up the cases.
We wait for a response, but the only one we get is the dim sight of Mikkel's back receding into the darkness.
He said the helicopter will be going ahead.
James says and pats Torsten on the shoulder as he steps away from us.
I think I'll stick with the guide in the meantime. Okay, sure.
Torsten says and follows James. They get about 10 yards away when Randolph steps up next to me.
Who recommended this guy?
Randolph asks.
Torsten,
I say.
Seriously?
Randolph asks and laughs.
He asked around and Nolan told him.
I reply.
Apparently, Nolan says he's the best hunter in this part of Ukraine and knows the patterns of the Chernobyl wolves better than anyone. Nolan's a prick,
Randolph says.
You trust him? Not a bit, but he's our highest paying client, so I trust his money.
I say, and point at the barely visible outline of Mikkel way up ahead.
And if Nolan's willing to pay what this asshole charges, then it's got to be worth it. Then we better catch up,
Randolph says and starts walking.
I'm going to get my money's worth one way or another on this trip.
And across the field we go, right into a thick, dark tree line. We spend about 45 minutes navigating the thick woods before we come to a decent-sized creek.
What's the name of this creek?
Torsten asks.
Irrelevant,
Mikkel answers.
Weird name,
James says with a chuckle.
Might be good to know in case we get separated.
I say.
Vivant,
Mikkel responds, then walks a little faster so he gets a couple yards ahead of us.
Nolan is f***ing with us,
Randolph says as he gets close to me on my left.
He set us up. What do you mean he set us up?
I ask.
What the f*** are you talking about? That guy,
Randolph says and nods at Mikkel.
There has been something off about him ever since we met him. I think he's working for Nolan. What? That's crazy,
I say.
I paid this guy myself. I checked him out. He's fully bonded by Rutherfordton and McGuire. They don't f*** around, Randy. Doesn't matter,
Randolph says.
I smell a setup, and I'm never wrong. Especially when it comes to dangerous pricks like Nolan. Yeah, but why would he do that?
I ask.
Why would he set us up for anything? Because of the Krakauer deal going south,
Randolph replies.
He said he didn't blame us for that.
I say, and look at Randolph. Randolph shrugs.
His secretary says he was rage pissed at us for days after the deal fell through. His secretary?
I ask, and it hits me.
Jesus, Randy, are you banging her? Every Thursday at the Omni.
Randolph says proudly.
Can you blame me? Getting a woman like that into bed is why we do what we...
Randolph stumbles, then reaches out and grips my shoulder. Then a far-off crack reaches my ears.
Was that a gunshot?
Torsten asks from up ahead where he's walking with James.
You okay, Randy?
I ask as I stop and steady him. I pat his chest.
Tell me you just got a stitch in your side or something.
He turns his body to me, and even in the darkness, I can see there's something wrong with the side of his neck.
Randy?
I put my hand to his neck, and he comes away wet and warm. I don't need to put my hand up closer to my eyes to know what I'm dealing with. I've seen and smelt plenty of blood at night.
Randy's been hit!
I call out. James and Torsten turn and run back along the creek the second they hear my voice.
What the f*** do you mean he's been hit?
James asks.
I knew it!
Torsten says.
That was a gunshot!
Randolph falls to his knees. I drop with him and hold my hand against his neck as I try to put pressure on the wound and stop the bleeding.
Is that blood? Is he bleeding?
Torsten asks, his voice pitching into panic territory.
Yes, he's f***ing bleeding. That's what happens when someone gets hit by a bullet, you f***ing dipshit.
I snap at him, then look ahead for Mikkel. He's nowhere to be seen.
Mother f***!
I shout.
Mikkel! Mikkel, where the f*** are you? I told you the hunt had begun.
Mikkel's voice calls out from the darkness.
Good luck, gentlemen. Oh, shit.
I say just as Randolph's eyes roll up into his head and he collapses against me.
I think Randy was f***ing right. About what?
James asks.
Nolan set us up.
I reply as I check for a pulse, but there's nothing there. Randolph is gone. Without saying a word, I ease Randolph to the dirt and slip his rifle free from around his shoulder. Then I go through his pockets and take all the ammunition he has on him.
What are you doing?
Torsten asks.
Making sure I have enough firepower to win this shit. Did neither of you hear me, Cal? We're the prey, you fucking idiot.
I say and quickly step off the creek path and into the cover of the trees.
Why in the hell would Nolan go after us?
James asks with a chuckle.
Was it something we said? Are you fucking high?
Torsten asks James.
Of course.
James replies.
Wait, Tim? Where the f did you go?
Torsten calls out. I don't answer him. I'm already out of his sight line. 3 makes for easy targets. 1 is harder to spot. Plus, Torsten really is an idiot, and James is just a dumbass most of the time. I'm neither of those things. What I am, now that Randolph is dead, is the best f***ing hunter in our group, and I have no plan on becoming prey, even if someone as powerful as Nolan is after us. It does make me pause and wonder if Nolan is hunting us because of our f*** up with the Krakauer deal, or if he's hunting us because maybe he wasn't so keen on Randolph banging his favorite secretary. Knowing Nolan, it could easily be both or neither. Billionaires are a strange breed, even if they are quickly becoming a dime a dozen nowadays. I move swiftly between the trees, and Torsten's shouts grow quieter and quieter. Foreign land or not, I know my way around woods, deserts, swamps, alpine peaks, anywhere. And the number 1 rule in all environments is to never stop moving. If you stop, you die. A scream echoes through the woods, and I know Torsten has taken a round. James would have just mumbled some witty regret and died. Torsten's the screamer. And he's still screaming as I put more and more distance between us. It isn't until I'm a quarter mile from the creek before the screams finally stop. Off to my left is a rocky outcropping covered in moss and ferns. I tuck under the outcropping and crouch down so I can take my phone out of my pocket with a little cover around me. No point in lighting up the entire forest and giving my position away. The second my phone is out of my pocket and on, I dim the screen as much as I can and bring it up close to my face. No cellular service, of course, but that isn't a problem. I swipe a couple of screens over, then activate the satellite connection. My phone chimes over and over as message after message and email after email load into my phone. I scramble to mute the sounds and tuck the phone into my coat, then just crouch and wait. When no gunshot takes off part of my head, I bring the phone back out and scroll through the messages. What I expect to be there isn't there. I mean, I highly doubted Nolan would implicate himself by sending me an elaborate explanation via text or anything. But I expected something cryptic at least, that would have a double meaning. Something like,
It should have been Poland, but Ukraine will do.
Because Krakauer is Polish. It's not the best barb, I know that. But Nolan isn't known for his wit. He is known for holding a grudge forever, though. Still, it is surprising that there isn't even one message or email from the man or one of his underlings. He's really keeping his hands clean on this one. Or maybe this isn't about the Krakauer deal or Nolan at all. Except, why would this backwoods Ukrainian yokel be trying to kill us? We're Americans. We're on the same side as Ukraine. Makes no sense. As I think about the possible explanations for this storm I find myself in, my phone's screen blinks a few more times, then warps and goes black. I was warned this might happen so close to the old reactor. I try every trick I know to get it to come back on, but the piece of tech in my hand is as useful as a brick. Oh, now I get why it's called that. I've never had a phone go out on me before. I pay to make sure that never happens. A phone to a lawyer is as important as a chip of rock slices across my left cheekbone, making me cry out in surprise. Then I flatten myself on the ground as several more rock chips shatter around me. I wait for the echoes of gunshots but hear nothing. The shots aren't coming from someone far off. They're coming from someone close by, using a suppressor on their rifle. I squeeze myself as far under the rock outcropping as I can until the rock chips stop flying around me.
Okay, Timothy, think this through. Think, damn it.
Shots in the dark require some sort of visibility. Doesn't matter if they are up close or far off. The shooter needs to see their target. That means night vision goggles or an NVG scope My money is on goggles, since we're talking close-range, suppressed fire. In other words, I'm trapped where I am. If I stick even a toe out, I'm gonna lose that toe. So how do I get out of this shit alive? That's the question that runs through my mind just before a second question slips in. Mikhail was close to us, but Randolph was hit from a round that was shot long range. The delayed crack of the gunshot told us that. So the second question is, who shot Randolph? Then a million other questions flood my brain. Does Mikhail have a whole team out here? Or could the shooter have been either the pilot or co-pilot of the helicopter? If there is a team, how many are there? And why are they shooting at us at all? Randolph's Nolan theory isn't feeling right. Not after the lack of a taunting message on my phone. I press my forehead into the damp earth. I've got to think this through. Long-range shot in the dark through trees. That's an expert shot. Maybe. The shot nicked Randolph's artery and he bled out. That's how he died. Not really from a kill shot. Which means, maybe the shot was meant for either of us, or even Torsten and James, who were both ahead of us, and it was sheer luck it even tagged Randolph. Now, couple that with a bunch of close-range, suppressed fire, yet I don't have a scratch except for where the rock chips hit me. If a pro is after us, Randolph's head would be gone, and I'd be dead under this outcropping. Not pros. Geared up, yes, but not pros. Jesus H. Christ, this has nothing to do with Nolan. This is all Mikhail. He set us up. I hired him to guide us on a hunt, and instead, he guided us into an ambush. He said the hunt had already begun. We just didn't realize we were the prey, and Mikhail had another group out here that paid him a ton more so they could hunt people, not wolves. Well, f***ing hell, I would have paid more if I knew that was an option. Quiet voices reach my ears, and I slowly roll over so my rifle is free. Randolph's rifle is pinned under me, but that doesn't matter. I'm only going to get one shot anyway. The voices get closer, and I instantly can tell they aren't American. Maybe Ukrainian? The language sounds familiar, except... No, it's Russian. The language is Russian. I know a little from some of my work back home, and it's definitely Russian. But not pros, so not Russian soldiers. Although, maybe Russian soldiers are shots anyway. Slowly, so I don't rustle any leaves, I adjust my position and brace my back against the rock while I bring my rifle up further. The world around me is almost pitch black. Almost. Just ahead, possibly about 6 yards from the outcropping, there's a break in the trees above, and the hint of moonlight filters down into the forest. If they aren't pros, then they'll avoid that because of the light. NVGs seem self-explanatory, but I've watched honest-to-God geniuses temporarily blind themselves by looking in the wrong direction. I could get lucky and maybe that will happen, but I'm more so banking on whoever it is to come around the moonlight. I adjust my aim and wait. A twig snaps to my left and I fire. The sound is deafening in the close space, so I have no idea if I hit someone or not, since I can't hear any screaming. But I have no choice except to flee, since I just gave my position away. With my rifle in one hand, I scramble out from under the rocks and crawl my ass as far and fast as I can into the shadows before I get to my feet and run. Something hits my neck and I almost fall on my face, but my feet stay under me, so I keep going. After a few seconds of still being alive, I reach up and barely feel any wetness. Most likely I caught some tree bark, as whoever is back there fires after me. And I say fires because I can see bark ahead of me chipping off trees and turning into woody shrapnel. For sure not pros. I'd have more than a few rounds in the dead center of my back if they were pros. And from the amount of gunfire coming at me, I am more than certain it is a they and not a single shooter. The trees thin and the moonlight grows stronger. I begin to weave in and out of the trees instead of running straight out. I need the cover now that I'm even more exposed. I skid to a stop just before I tumble over the edge of a steep drop. Down below is a river whose name I can't remember. Privet or Privyat or Prinyat or who cares. Dirt kicks up at my feet and I can hear the gunshots now. My ears are still ringing pretty bad, but sounds are finally getting through. Sounds like shouting from at least 3 different men. shouting in Russian for sure. I turn and run alongside the edge of the drop until I reach a good-sized thicket of bushes. Slipping in there, I sling my rifle over my shoulder and switch it out for Randolph's. It may be fitted to him, but it's still the best rifle I have. Better than mine, which has always bugged me until now. Squeezing myself between the tangled branches of the bushes, I try to make myself as invisible as possible. The fact that the bushes aren't being torn to shreds by gunfire means they lost sight of me at some point. They must have still been back in those trees a ways when I ducked in here. Minutes fly by, then I hear whispering. I angle my view and can see 4 men come out of the woods. 2 stay back, and it looks like one is helping the other stay upright. Maybe I did hit someone when I fired blind back at the outcropping. 2 men break from the group and follow my tracks to the edge of the drop. They kneel, talk to each other, then point to where the tracks lead, which is me. They talk loudly, almost like they want me to hear them. Then they both laugh. A taunt. My Russian is minimal, but I can make out some of the words and phrasing. They certainly aren't trying to stay quiet. Their voices easily carry to my hiding place, if it can still be called that. My blood runs cold at what I think they are saying. If I'm right, then Torsten and James are dead too, having been run down or caught or shot or something like that. Both men stop talking, stand, point at my hiding place, and raise their weapons. I have seconds to do something. But before I take aim and fire, several things happen all at once. A wolf howls from not too far away. One of the 4 men drops to a knee and slumps low as he clutches his side. His buddy, who had been helping him stand, crouches next to him, asking him questions in Russian. The man shakes his head and cries out. The 2 men that were about to open fire on me lower their weapons as they walk back to check on their friend. Then a chorus of wolf howls fills the air and the 2 men pause, their weapons back up and now swinging back and forth as the howls echo around them. Then Mikhail steps out of the woods about 30 yards away from them. I can tell that none of the Russians have a clue he's even there, though he isn't trying to hide himself and he's walking straight at them. Finally, one of the Russians notices Mikhail and calls out to him. Mikhail raises a hand in greeting but doesn't respond. The Russian calls out again, and Mikhail shakes his head as he points at his ear. The Russian looks annoyed at the gesture and stomps toward Mikhail, closing the distance between them. The Russian on the ground cries out again, then fully slumps onto his side. The moonlight illuminates the man's blood-soaked shirt. Yeah, I definitely got him. Good for me. With obvious panic in his voice, the Russian kneeling by the wounded man calls out to the one walking toward Mikhail. That Russian pauses and looks back over his shoulder, then nods. When he turns back, Mikhail is right there in front of him. The wolves howl again, and before any of the Russians can move a muscle, Mikhail grabs the Russian in front of him and yanks him closer, sinking his teeth into the man's neck. Blood spurts high into the air, looking like a black geyser in the moonlight. The Russians, not wounded, stare at the scene for a second, then they scramble for their weapons. But they are too late. A dozen massive wolves break from the tree line and attack the Russians with a ferocity that makes my knees weak. I've seen some I've done some but what the wolves do to those Russians is beyond description. I know wolves, and these do not act like regular wolves. There is no circling, there's no testing their prey's defenses, there's no communication or coordination between them. All I see is raw, brutal violence as the wolves take down the Russians and tear them limb from limb. The dead grass at the edge of the drop is stained deep black by the time the Russians stop screaming. With his chest coated in blood, Mikhail walks away from the Russians he killed and over to the feeding pack. One of the wolves breaks off and approaches him. Its hackles up. Mikhail shows empty hands and slowly bends a knee. He holds his empty hands out to the approaching wolf and lowers his head. Growling deep in its throat, the wolf gets closer and closer to Mikhail, then finally places its nose to one of Mikhail's hands. With a yip and a sharp bark, the wolf stops growling, then runs past Mikhail to the dead Russian. 2 other wolves join the first one, and they tear into the body with enthusiasm. I just wait here in the bushes and try to keep from pissing myself. Not because of embarrassment or even discomfort, but because if I let my bladder loose, those wolves will smell my urine instantly. And considering the smallest of the wolves is bigger than me, I do not want them getting curious about my location. 30 minutes slip by as the wolves continue to feast. Then an hour. 2 hours. Nearly 3 hours go by before the wolves have satiated their appetites and, one by one, they slip back into the forest. Across the river, a sliver of light appears. It's already nearly dawn. Daylight is not going to be my friend. I need to move and get back into the cover of the trees before the sun fully rises, or I'll be the easiest thing in the world to spot. My only problem is Mikhail is still here. He's slowly going through the Russians' gear and consolidating everything he wants into one of their packs. What I need is for him to turn his back so I can get away. But no matter what he does or how long he takes, he's always facing in my direction. Could I put a round between his eyes at this distance? Not even a question on that one. Can I do it silently and fast enough that Mikhail can't defend himself? Yeah, that's the real question right there. And considering my luck so far in this trip, I'm not pushing it. Finally, as pinks and purples and oranges light up the sky across the river, Mikhail finishes scavenging the corpses. He stands, stretches, and unslings his rifle. Slowly, like he's in a dream, he puts the rifle to his shoulder, sights down the barrel, and takes aim right at my position. Then he fires, and a branch about 2 inches from my head snaps in half.
Come out, Mr. Timothy Lawson,
Mikhail says as he lowers his rifle.
I do not ask twice.
Without even having to think it over, I extract myself from the bushes with my hands up and a rifle hanging from each shoulder.
I don't know what your deal is, but there has to be a way to work this out.
I shout.
There is.
Mikhail says and walks toward me.
Come closer.
I hesitate.
I do not ask twice.
He says again. I walk closer to him, my hands still up. When we are about a yard apart, he stops and gestures for me to stop as well. Then he looks me up and down and smiles.
You survive well,
He says.
I am surprised.
I'm surprised to have a bunch of fucking Russians shooting at me.
I shout. He cocks his head and I calm myself down. I need to remember what situation I'm in and not let my anger get the better of me.
How much did they pay you?
I ask, once I know I'm under control. Mikhail laughs.
You always ask that.
He must see the confusion on my face, because he continues.
The men like you. Then men like these Russian pigs. The men who believe money solves everything. Always asking how much I get paid. May I ask you a question?
I'd be a fool to say no.
I reply.
Is it a game? All this money?
He asks.
A game? No, it's life.
I answer as I start to lower my hands. He shakes his head, and I keep my hands up.
But yes, in a way, it is a game. Money tells us who is winning.
Winning what?
Mikhail asks.
Life,
I say.
Money equals status and power. It gives you access to places you wouldn't normally get to see. It allows for experiences others do not get to enjoy.
Like this experience?
Mikhail asks.
Are you glad you get to enjoy it while others do not?
To be honest, no, I'm not glad at all.
He shakes his head and laughs.
Americans, Russians, you are all the same,
He says. A silence falls between us, then I clear my throat.
May I ask a question?
I say. He nods.
The wolves,
I say slowly, trying to find the right words.
you led them to the Russians. Why?
Is that your only question?
He responds. I shake my head and he smiles.
Good,
He says.
to answer, it is simple. The wolves of Chernobyl are hungry, very hungry. But as the land has changed them, their appetites have changed as well. I understand, because I was one of them once.
Not what I was expecting him to say. He shakes his head and laughs again.
No, I am not wolf monster man.
He says.
I was small child and lost when the wolves found me. They saved me and kept me fed for months before I was found by my family. But I learned a lot of their ways during that time. I also learned what they eat.
He spreads his hands out to indicate the nearly picked clean bodies of the Russians. Then he hooks a thumb over his shoulder toward the forest.
I bring them food now.
Mikhail continues.
If I do not, then they will eventually sneak into the villages and farms close by and attack the people there. The wolves of Chernobyl are hungry, and they must be fed.
Why not kill the wolves and be done with all this?
I ask, and almost regret it instantly as a dark cloud of emotions covers Mikhail's face.
Why? I am smart man. I am skilled man. I man with a plan, as you Americans say.
You con rich men like me into hunting trips, then let the wolves kill them,
I say.
I let men kill men. Then let the wolves kill the ones remaining. Except for you. You are a survivor. You may be useful.
I don't understand.
You have connections. You know other rich men. You can help feed the wolves.
I'm not going to help you,
I say.
What are you even thinking? That I tricked my friends and family into a hunting trip where I know they'll die? You're f***ing insane.
And you are idiot.
He replies.
Not friends and family. Enemies. You suggest to enemies that you have done something they cannot do. That makes jealous. They want more than anything now. Then, you give my number and I do rest.
What makes you think I'll help you?
I snap.
You do or you die.
Mikhail says.
No, I mean when I get home. Why would I help you? Why not just forget all about you and live my life? You'll be here and I'll be safe in Connecticut.
But what story do you tell?
Mikhail asks me.
The one with crazy Ukrainian and giant wolves eating Russians after you ran away and let your friends die? Or the one where you survive a helicopter crash that your friends do not, leaving all of that law firm to just you? No questions will be asked because I can make sure no questions can be answered. You get more money, you win the game of life.
I open my mouth to argue at the absurdity of his proposal. No words come out. Mikhail does have a point, and if he can pull off things on his end, then I know I can pull off things on my end.
What's my cut?
I ask and nod down at the Russian corpses.
I know what I paid for this trip. What did they pay? Whatever it is, I want a percentage of this whole operation.
So you will consider an arrangement?
Mikhail asks.
Yeah.
I say, and can't believe I'm actually considering it.
I tell you percentage when we get back to helicopter.
Mikhail says.
We need to leave before sun all the way rises, or we become target for Russian missiles.
Then he turns for me and walks off into the woods. I struggle to keep up, but manage it for the most part. I only stumble and trip a couple of times along the way. Mikhail never pauses to see if I'm following or flat on my face. When we arrive at the field, I almost want to cry at the sight of the helicopter. It never left. That was all part of the ruse. But then we cross the field, and as we get closer, I realize I can see legs dangling out the side of the passenger hold door. I stop, and Mikhail stops without looking back. He's testing me, seeing if I'll break. That. This Ukrainian prick can't break me. I walk again and Mikhail walks again. Then we reach the passenger hold, and I see Randolph's body stacked on top of James's body.
Where's Torsten?
I ask.
Here,
Torsten says from behind me. I whirl around and come eye to eye with the barrel of his rifle.
Torsten!
I ask, looking down the barrel at his scrunched up face.
What the f***, man?
did he ask for a percentage like I told you he would?
Torsten says.
What are you talking about?
Yes,
Mikhail says, and I realize the question was for him and not me.
but it got him to walk here like you also said it would. Better than carrying his sorry ass.
Torsten says with a smirk.
Torsten, what is happening?
I'm taking over the firm. It took me a long time to find Mikhail and his operation, but I did, and it's all gone exactly to plan. I said it would.
Mikhail says.
So all of this was bullshit?
I snap.
Mikhail's story about the wolves? Him needing someone to introduce him to Rich Marks? All of that was so I'd walk back to this helicopter on my own 2 feet?
All of it true.
Miguel says.
All of it.
Torsten agrees.
Miguel's story really moves me. I like wolves.
You like wolves?
I nearly shout.
You f***ing have your partners murdered, and that's what you say? That you f***ing like wolves?
Yes.
Torsten says.
Why are you surprised? You guys have been making fun of me for years. You have always thought of me as the weak one. You have always on me. Well, you, Tim. Randy and James. Maybe I am weak, and maybe stories about wolves move me. But guess what? What? I don't have to take your shit anymore,
he says.
And the wolves of Chernobyl are very, very hungry. So I'm thinking they still need some food.
The muzzle flash comes before I can respond. Donovan hits the brakes hard, nearly sending Carter face first into the dashboard.
Hell, dude!
Carter exclaims.
What the f***? I missed the turn.
Donovan says as he puts the car in reverse. Or tries to. He grinds the gear shift over and over, his foot pressing the clutch all the way to the floorboard to get it to engage. Finally, the transmission obeys, and the old 1996 Toyota Camry begins to slowly move backwards. There's a high-pitched noise that originates from under the car, but sounds like it's lodged in both men's brains.
You need to have that looked at.
Carter cries out over the noise.
Your transmission is going to fall off one day. You gonna pay for it?
Donovan snaps as he turns his entire body around so he can see out the rear window.
Because I don't have new transmission money just lying around. We will after this,
Carter says.
Trust me. You keep saying that,
Donovan says.
And I'll believe it when I have the cash in hand. Mr. Montesquieu is legit, man. Chill.
Carter says.
I know guys who have made some serious cheddar off his weird tastes. How many guys?
Donovan asks.
I don't know. A few.
Carter says with a shrug.
Yeah, sure.
Donovan says, then hits the brakes and looks out his window at the dirt road hidden in the thick woods that surround the entire area.
This is it.
Carter leans past him and takes a look, then shakes his head.
Maybe we should come back in the daylight,
Carter suggests.
Are you joking?
Donovan asks.
It took us 6 days to get this guy to pick up his phone. He said tonight was the night we can make the buy. Not tomorrow after lunch, tonight.
I know,
Carter replies.
It just looks a little Texas Chainsaw Massacre-y.
Yeah, well, this is the gig, so chainsaws or not, we're going in. Making the buy, then heading straight for Montesquieu's place for our payout.
Donovan says as he cranks the wheel.
You got the money?
In the backpack, in the back seat.
Carter says, obviously irritated by the question.
That's the 8th time you've asked since we left the city.
And I'll probably ask a 9th time,
Donovan responds.
Don't say it.
Carter says and holds up a finger as Donovan puts the gear shift in first and eases the car down the dark dirt road.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, you were. I know you.
If I was going to say something, I would have said it.
Carter shakes his head.
But if I was going to say anything,
Donovan says,
I'd remind you how Mazatlan turned out when you said you had the money, and guess what? You didn't.
I knew it.
Carter exclaims.
Always with Mazatlan.
It cracks me up how you get offended when I bring that up,
Donovan says.
You weren't the one with the chain wrapped around his ankles and suspended over a pit of crocodiles, now were you? Yet, if I bring up Mazatlan, you act all butthurt over it like your life nearly ended.
And I keep telling you that you were never really in any danger.
And I keep telling you to choke on your own tongue if you actually think that's true. Those dudes were very much going to drop me into that pit if Jackie hadn't come through at the last minute.
Carter shrugs and looks out of his window at the inky blackness of the woods that drift by.
Hold on,
Carter says and grabs Donovan's arm.
Stop the car for a second.
We're already late,
Donovan replies.
I'm not stopping. Definitely not stopping out here in the middle of nowhere. When I see house lights and evidence of civilization again, then I'll stop.
No, seriously, I saw something back there.
Carter says, craning his neck around so he can see back behind the car.
Stop, man.
What did you see?
Donovan asks.
I don't know. Something moving in the trees.
You saw something moving in the trees?
Yeah.
And you don't know what that something is? No, that's why I want you to stop. So stop, man. Let me see if I have this straight, okay? We are driving down a dirt road that is nearly impossible to see from the main road. Not that I'd call that rural highway the main of anything, considering it's made of mostly potholes. It's the middle of the night. No one except some eccentric rich dude knows where we are. And you want to stop this car, the only thing between us and whatever the is out there, so you can figure out what you saw moving among the trees because you are obsessed with weird at night. Am I right? Does that sum it up? Pretty much,
Carter says.
But if you're too scared to pull over... Nice try, dildo,
Donovan says with a laugh.
You aren't going to ego trip me into pulling this car over. We're late. It's dark as and whatever you saw could either not exist at all, or, if it does exist, it has fur and fangs and claws and You just described a bear,
Carter says.
I know I did. Because maybe that's what you saw, moron.
Donovan exclaims.
Which makes stopping and checking it out a very dumb idea. Whatever,
Carter says and crosses his arms over his chest as he leans back into his seat.
I don't even know why you do this with me anymore. You always complain. You always act like I'm trying to get you killed. You're only happy when we get paid. It's like you don't find our line of work fun at all. Line of work? There is no line of work,
Donovan snaps.
We take jobs picking up weird for weird motherfuckers where the pay is just okay. If they pay us at all. Now you want to bring up sure,
Carter says and throws up his hands.
Why are you always like this? We have survived every job and gotten paid for every job except for one. And that's because Sure died of a heart attack, man. Dead men can't pay. But live ones don't care that dead ones don't pay,
Donovan shouts. He holds up his right hand and shoves it at Carter.
What the live men care about is what they get what they are owed when they are owed it. Or they cut off half a pinky finger and make you eat it.
Carter is silent for a second then nods.
Yeah, you got me there,
Carter says.
Sorry about your pinky, man. Sorry doesn't pay the bills, see?
Donovan says, and places his 4.5 fingers, plus the rest of the hand, back on the steering wheel.
Sorry doesn't grow back fingers. I know, which is why Montesquieu paid us half up front,
Carter says.
See, dude, I'm learning.
Before Donovan can respond, there's a break in the trees and a dilapidated farmhouse comes into view. The paint may have been white once upon a time, but is now a dingy gray. Most of the windows' shutters are hanging by a single nail or lying down on the ground below. The porch light is a weak beacon in the pitch-black night and mainly serves to illuminate the broken railings and splintered boards that make up the decrepit structure.
I think Montesquieu is overpaying,
Donovan says.
He could probably pay a quarter of the price, and this guy would still be happy as a pig in Why? Because he's country?
Carter asks.
Not all of us were born and raised city slickers, dude. I don't care if this guy is country or not,
Donovan responds.
What I care about is that the Texas Chainsaw vibe is getting stronger and stronger every time I look at this place. We could probably keep the cash and pay the guy in nails or hay or something. That's pretty closed-minded,
Carter says as Donovan pulls up in front of the house.
You ever think that maybe you aren't as cool and smart as you think you are? No,
Donovan says flatly.
I never think that.
The two men sit in the car for a full 2 minutes before Donovan finally turns off the ignition. The car gives a loud bang crack, then shudders and goes still.
This thing is going to start again, right?
Carter asks, his hand on the door handle.
I'd be a lot more certain if we'd gotten paid for the Sure job, and I could have bought a new car,
Donovan says and shoves his door open. But I guess we'll have to wait and find out.
Great,
Carter says and gets out of the car at the same time Donovan does. They each turn and stare up at the old farmhouse.
Should I honk?
Donovan asks.
No, dude. We go up and knock.
Carter snaps.
What the are you thinking? I don't know,
Donovan says.
I thought country folk honk. Why the would you think that?
Carter asks.
Why would you honk instead of knock?
Because you never know if maybe I'm out in the barn or in my workshop.
A deep voice booms from the right side of the farmhouse. A huge man, easily 6.5 feet tall and close to 300 muscled pounds, comes walking around the house, a shovel in one hand and a crowbar in the other. Donovan mutters under his breath after jumping at the shock of the sound and then the sight of the man.
Piss yourself a little?
The huge man asks before he stops in front of the porch steps. The backlight of the weak porch light makes it impossible to see his face.
Sorry about that. I forget how dark it is out here, and that most folks ain't used to it.
The huge man sets the two tools down, wipes his hands on his jeans, then steps forward and offers his right hand to Carter, who is the closest.
Holmes,
The man says.
you must be Carter.
Yeah, that's me.
Carter says and takes the hand offered. He winces as the man squeezes and gives his hand a hearty shake.
Good to meet you, Holmes, is it?
Carter responds.
Just like the detective.
Holmes says and lets Carter's hand go. Carter tries not to look relieved that his hand is free. He definitely tries to not rub the hand as circulation returns to his fingers.
And you are Donovan.
Holmes says. He rounds the rear of the car and offers his hand to Donovan. Donovan looks at it, shrugs, and shakes. He doesn't bother hiding the wince. He definitely doesn't bother hiding the fact that he's rubbing feeling back into his fingers once Holmes lets go. With Holmes now facing the house, what little light the dim porch light puts out shines on Holmes's features. Donovan quickly forgets about his hand and struggles not to gasp.
Pretty, ain't I?
Holmes says with a chuckle as he points to his own face.
Wolf did this. Big son of a bitch. But don't you worry. I took care of his ass. Got him stuffed and mounted inside.
Donovan doesn't respond and continues to stare.
I'm just f***ing with you.
Holmes says.
I didn't stuff it and mount it. That wouldn't be possible considering.
Considering what?
Donovan manages to ask as he continues to stare at Holmes's face. Holmes only shrugs.
You survived a wolf attack?
Carter asks, trying to chill the vibe Donovan's staring is creating.
That's awesome.
Wasn't so awesome at the time.
Holmes says.
Half my face was hanging down to my chest when I finally hiked out of there and found some help.
Holmes laughs, and a flock of birds erupts from out of the top of one of the trees surrounding the farmhouse. Donovan jumps, and Holmes laughs even harder.
Relax.
Holmes says after his chuckles subside.
Just crows.
He moves past Donovan and heads to the porch. He picks up the shovel and crowbar, then climbs the steps. When he reaches the front door, he turns and frowns down at Carter and Donovan.
You two coming inside or what?
He asks, then looks around. His eyes, two gleaming orbs and a mass of scar tissue.
Probably a good idea. Crows ain't the only things awake right now.
What the does that mean?
Donovan whispers.
I'm sure he's talking about coyotes and bears and
Carter replies.
Sure.
Holmes says.
Coyotes and bears and Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Holmes opens the front door and walks into the dark house. His bulk lost from sight the second he's off the porch.
Come on, I got things to do and you two are holding me up.
Holmes shouts from inside the house.
Dude,
Donovan hisses.
I know, this guy is creepier than our usual encounters.
Carter says.
You think?
Donovan snaps. A branch snaps somewhere out in the forest, and the sound of leaves rustling echoes out into the driveway.
This.
Donovan says.
We should go. Oh, boo-hoo.
Carter says and walks to the porch.
City boy is scared of the local wildlife. Poor baby. You see?
Donovan says as he hesitates, then follows Carter up onto the porch. The two men pause outside the open front door.
Come on in.
Holmes shouts from somewhere inside.
The cash.
Carter says, and rushes back to the car, leaving Donovan alone outside the front door.
Dude,
Donovan says.
you forgot too.
Carter calls from the back seat of the car. Then he emerges with the backpack and holds it up.
All good.
Nothing is all good about this.
Donovan says when Carter returns to the porch.
Well, we just have to suck it up and make the deal. Then we can get the out of here.
Carter says.
Y'all want tea or coffee or something?
Holmes asks, suddenly appearing right inside the front door. Donovan shouts. Holmes smirks.
Chamomile it is.
Holmes says and walks off.
You two are jumpy as f*** and need to calm down.
Carter takes a deep breath and steps over the threshold, the backpack clutched to his chest like a shield. When nothing happens, Carter lets out the breath and continues walking down the hallway toward where the only light is coming from.
I make mine with honey and milk.
Holmes yells to them.
That okay with you two?
Sure, honey and milk is just fine.
Carter says. Donovan waits a second, then follows.
I am not drinking anything he gives us.
Donovan says quietly when he catches up to Carter.
No,
Carter says.
but it'd be rude to say no. And I don't want to be rude to this guy, do you?
Donovan doesn't answer. He just shakes his head as his attention is drawn to the many photographs framed on the walls. Then he sees a very specific photograph of a lion leaping at a wildebeest, the two animals about to collide in a flurry of violence only moments away. Yet, will never happen as the two beasts are forever suspended in time by the photo.
Hold the on,
Donovan says and leans closer. Then he takes out his phone and turns on the flashlight to get a better look.
This won the National Geographic Award for photography in 1993. I remember it because I had to do a report on the African savanna in like 6th grade.
I won again in 98, then in 04.
Holmes says, his massive body silhouetted in the kitchen doorway.
That was the peak of my career.
You're Jason Holmes.
Donovan says, his voice betraying his disbelief.
What the are you doing out here? And,
When Donovan doesn't finish his sentence, Holmes laughs. The sound fills the house, and a scrabbling sound echoes from the second floor, then goes silent.
what was that?
Carter asks.
You want to know why I'm making a deal with a man like Montesquieu instead of out taking more award-winning photographs, right?
Holmes asks, ignoring Carter's question and focusing on Donovan.
Have a seat, and we can discuss it over tea. Unless you two need to be somewhere right away.
No, we can sit and have tea.
Donovan says, his entire demeanor having changed.
Right, C?
Is someone up there?
Carter asks, staring up at the ceiling.
Dude, this is Jason Holmes.
Donovan says, and whacks Carter on the shoulder.
This is crazy cool, so stop being weird.
You didn't hear that?
Carter asks.
It's an old farmhouse.
Donovan says.
I hear all kinds of shit.
Tea's ready.
Holmes calls from the kitchen.
Let's go.
Donovan says, and grabs Carter by the elbow, pulling him down the hallway and into the kitchen.
Have a seat.
Holmes says, and gestures toward a small kitchen table with 4 chairs and 2 steaming mugs of tea.
I ran out of honey for mine, so let me go get some from the pantry down in the basement. You two enjoy your tea. Careful, it's hot.
Then Holmes has gone through a door set next to a set of built-in shelves, leaving Donovan and Carter alone.
Dude, did you see his face?
Carter whispers.
It's like it's just folded up flesh that got glued back onto his skull.
Yeah, I know.
Donovan says.
Remember when he said a wolf did that? He wasn't f***ing lying. It was a wolf, all right. Just not from around here.
What the does that mean?
Carter asks.
I read all about it.
Donovan whispers, motioning for Carter to keep his voice down.
The dude was shooting photos of the wildlife returning to Chernobyl. One of the Chernobyl wolves attacked him and he almost died. From what I heard, he hasn't shot a single picture since then.
Who cares?
Carter replies. He pats the backpack.
Let's make the deal and go.
Then Carter looks up at the kitchen ceiling.
I don't like that sound up there.
It was just f***ing rats, dude.
Donovan says, then takes a seat in front of one of the mugs of tea.
Don't be a jerk. This guy has been through some shit. Sit your ass down.
What?
Carter says and focuses back on Donovan.
Who the are you right now?
Just a couple minutes ago, you were fully not on board with this shit at all. And now you're fanboying over some photographer who lost his face to a wolf. Like I f***ing said, see, it's Jason Holmes.
And like I said, who cares?
How's the tea?
Holmes asks from the basement doorway. He holds up a jar of thick, amber liquid.
Need more honey?
It's a little hot.
Donovan says, and glares at Carter until the man finally sits down. Then he blows on his mug and smiles at Holmes despite it being a very intense sight.
I'm sure it's great, but I don't want to scorch my tongue.
I hear that.
Holmes says, and walks past the table to the kitchen counter where a mug is waiting. Holmes pours a healthy amount of honey into the mug, then adds water to it from a kettle resting on the stove. Steam billows up from the mug, and Holmes stirs, and stirs before dropping a tea bag in. He turns and grins at Donovan and Carter as he goes to the fridge to fetch milk. Once his tea is prepared, he carries his steaming mug over to the table where he sits down next to Donovan.
That's the cash, I assume.
Holmes says, his eyes on the backpack as he blows on his mug.
Yeah.
Carter says, looking very uncomfortable.
All 80 grand.
80? Montesquieu said it'd be an even 100.
Holmes says, his eyes going from the backpack to Carter's face.
You skimming?
What?
Carter exclaims.
No! Montesquieu said it was 80. We haven't even opened this backpack.
Holmes narrows his eyes for a second, then he leans back in his chair and laughs. More sounds come from above.
I'm just f***ing with you. Relax. Drink your tea.
Yeah, see? Relax and drink your tea.
Donovan says. He picks up his mug, blows on it, then sips.
Oh, wow. That's, actually really good.
I have hives out back for the honey, and I grow the chamomile myself.
Holmes says. Then he leans forward and sets his mug down.
But you two aren't here for my homesteading tips. You want the camera.
The what?
Donovan responds.
The camera.
Holmes says, and looks from Donovan to Carter and back.
You don't know what you're picking up?
We don't ask many questions.
Donovan says.
Sometimes it's better not to know what we're paying for. Right, see?
Donovan gives Carter a look and the man slowly nods. Donovan frowns, then returns his attention to Holmes.
Is it like one of the cameras you used to shoot some of your award winners?
Donovan asks.
Because I bet those are worth a lot, considering what you accomplished with them.
You're not a photographer, are you?
Holmes asks.
No, I just know about your work and
Donovan starts to say, but stops when Holmes holds up a hand.
I haven't worked since this happened,
Holmes says, pointing at his face.
Which was over a decade ago. I had to sell all my cameras over the years to make ends meet.
Oh,
Donovan replies.
Sorry to hear that.
Except for the camera you're selling to Mr. Montesquieu, right?
Carter asks.
I'm sorry?
Holmes says.
You sold all your cameras, except for the one you're selling to Mr. Montesquieu, right?
Carter repeats.
Yeah, of course.
Holmes says and wags a finger.
Drink your tea. Relax, and I'll tell you all about it.
That's okay, we don't...
Carter says before Donovan interrupts him.
Great.
Donovan says.
I'd love to hear the story.
Carter glares at Donovan. Then his eyes slowly drift up to the ceiling. Holmes studies Carter for a minute, then smiles and turns to Donovan.
I used to only shoot still photos,
Holmes says.
But then I was given an assignment I couldn't refuse. The bay was amazing. The location was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But the only thing was, I had to use an old Arriflex 16mm film camera instead of my Hasselblad or my Canons.
So we're here to pick up a movie camera?
Carter asks without looking away from the ceiling.
Great. Can you go get that for us so we can hit the road? It's a long drive to the city.
Of course,
Holmes says.
But I need to tell you this story first. You should know what you'll be holding on to, even if it is only for a few hours.
It's not for us,
Carter says.
It's for Mr. Montesquieu.
I don't really care what we're holding on to, as long as we get it to... Why does it matter?
Donovan asks and holds up a hand.
Sorry, C, but I wouldn't mind hearing the story.
A range of emotions, none of them positive, wash over Carter's face before his shoulders slump and he rests an elbow on the table.
Tell your story,
Carter says to Holmes, then nods at Donovan.
This guy doesn't give up, so I might as well listen to the story instead of listen to him the whole ride home about how he didn't get to hear the story.
Way to make an old man feel wanted,
Holmes says and laughs. Carter's eyes dart to the ceiling, but no new sounds come from above.
It was 2014,
Holmes begins.
And digital photography was in full swing.
Old film shooters like me were on the outs, so I needed to find some sort of unique way to make a living, yet still do what I loved.
Holmes stepped off the plane and lifted his sunglasses so he could get a good look at his new surroundings. It was desolate and run down, which is what he expected. The young woman in tight jeans and an even tighter tank top was not what he expected.
Mr. Holmes?
The woman asked in almost flawless English.
I am Katerina Eliskaya, and I'll be your guide.
Great.
Holmes said and gave the woman a huge grin. He held out his hand and she took it.
It's good to meet you, Miss Eliskaya.
Please, call me Kat.
Katerina said.
Call me Jason,
Holmes said.
We'll see.
Katerina responded and let go of Holmes's hand.
If you will follow me, I will show you to the car.
Holmes adjusted the backpack on his shoulder, then pointed at the metal building in front of them.
I don't need to go through customs?
Holmes asked.
I flew directly from Poland.
No need. It is all taken care of.
Katerina said, then gestured for him to follow her.
It is?
Holmes asked as he lowered his sunglasses.
I'm not sure that's how passports work.
That is how they work here.
Katerina said.
Welcome to Chernobyl, Ukraine, Jason. It will be an experience you never forget.
I'm sure it will be,
Jason said, and followed Katerina around the metal building to a small parking lot out front. Most of the cars in the lot looked ancient and were models that Holmes didn't recognize. But Katerina was leading them to a vehicle that Holmes knew well.
1996 Jeep Cherokee,
Holmes said as he approached the classic SUV.
I used to have one just like it. How'd you get one over here?
This is Ukraine, Jason.
Katerina said as she unlocked the passenger door for him.
Not Siberia. Although, I am sure if someone in Siberia wants one, they can get one. The world isn't as closed off as you think.
Except for here,
Holmes said and tossed his backpack into the Jeep.
the Chernobyl containment zone. That's about as closed off as places get.
And yet, you are lucky enough to be escorted inside the zone by me,
Katerina replied.
proving my point.
You got me on that one,
Holmes said and hopped in. Katerina started up the Jeep, and the straight six engine roared to life.
I was told a camera would be waiting for me.
Holmes said.
It is in the back.
Katerina responded, and Holmes noticed the shift in tone in her voice.
Is something wrong?
Holmes asked, as Katerina drove them out of the parking lot and away from the rundown airport.
Is there not enough film?
Plenty of film,
Katerina said, taking a left at the first intersection.
and there is nothing wrong, as long as you follow some simple rules.
Like?
Holmes asked, a grin on his face and a laugh in his voice. The ice-cold eyes Katerina turned on Holmes killed the laugh and wiped the grin off his face.
I am not joking.
Katerina said, her eyes locking with Holmes's a second longer than he was comfortable with. Then she returned her gaze to the road and the very sparse traffic it held.
Rule number 1 is that you only film what you want to capture.
Katerina said.
Rule number 2 is,
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Holmes interrupted.
Back up. What the f does that first rule even mean? Only film what you want to capture?
Katerina frowned, but did not look over at Holmes.
were you not told about the camera?
She asked.
My employer has been cryptic when it comes to details. But I did my homework on the camera so I'd be prepared.
Holmes said.
An Ariflex 416 16mm film camera. It can shoot from 1 to 75 frames per second. It is surprisingly good in dark environments when using the Kodak.
You will not be using commercial film stock.
Katerina said.
It does not survive the camera.
Survive the camera?
Holmes laughed and didn't care when Katerina side-eyed him.
This gets better and better. Okay, how about you finish the rules, then I'll ask questions.
That was the plan.
Katerina said. She cleared her throat as she turned right onto a dirt road.
Rule number 2 is, you wear your protective gear at all times, and you never open the camera without gloves.
Sounds like 2 rules in 1 there.
Holmes said, then held up his hands.
Sorry. Continue.
Rule number 3 is you do not develop the film during the night.
She said.
You must develop the film during the day
so you have a chance to destroy it if needed.
Holmes opened his mouth, then shut it quickly.
Rule number 4 is that you never ever watch the developed film alone or at night.
Katerina continued.
Rule number 5 is if you disregard any of these rules, do not come looking for help. You will not find it. You will be on your own, and once on your own, there is only one way to survive.
Holmes dutifully waited for Katerina to continue. After she took 2 more turns onto 2 other dirt roads, Holmes spoke up.
That's a lot to take in,
Holmes said.
Can I ask questions now? You may, yes,
Katerina said.
but I do not agree to answer any of them. And if I do answer them, it will be in my way, and you will have to settle for that.
Sure.
Holmes said and narrowed his eyes.
Let's start with practical. Why doesn't commercial film stock survive the camera? It is hot.
Katerina answered.
The camera was found just outside the Chernobyl reactor 3 weeks after the accident.
That was a decade ago.
Holmes said.
And the camera is still radioactive?
That is how radioactivity works, yes.
Katerina responded.
There is special film that does work inside it. But that film is hot as well, and there is only so much left. I do not know who your employer is, but they are very well connected if they are able to secure the use of this camera.
Okay.
Holmes said.
Now I understand most of the rules. They're related to the radioactive contamination on the camera and film,
Katerina did not respond.
right?
That does not matter.
Katerina said with a shrug.
What matters is you follow the rules. Can you do that?
Are you providing the gloves and hazmat suit?
Holmes asked.
They are in the back. The camera and film are in their own crate.
Katerina replied. Then she slowed the jeep and pulled off the road.
We are here.
Already?
Holmes asked.
Are we close to the containment zone?
We are inside the containment zone.
Katerina said.
Are you kidding me?
Holmes said with panic in his voice.
I'm not wearing a suit. How much radiation am I being exposed to? Am I basically getting cancer right this second?
Relax.
Katerina said.
This far out, the radiation risk is negligible. You will be fine.
Holmes stared at her for a few seconds until Katerina sighed and got out of the jeep.
Come along, Jason.
Katerina said.
You are burning daylight.
Holmes reluctantly got out of the jeep and walked around to the back where Katerina was opening the hatch, then opening a large metal case. Inside was an Arriflex 416 film camera and 6 magazines of film. Then she grabbed a duffel bag next to the crate and tossed it on the ground.
Hazmat suit. Put it on.
She ordered.
Over my clothes?
Holmes asked.
Over your underwear, unless you want to bake to death inside the suit.
Katerina said.
Do not be modest. I do not care about what boxer shorts you wear.
I'm more of a briefs guy.
Holmes said and laughed.
Sorry. Yeah, I know the drill. I've done several volcano shoots before, so it's similar.
Katerina smiled politely and walked back to the front of the jeep and leaned against the driver's side door. Holmes took that as his cue to strip down and suit up. In minutes, he was encased in thick plastic. Once suited up, Holmes picked up the camera and looked it over. It was about the size of a large toaster with a lens sticking out from one end. He put the viewfinder up to the clear plastic on the front of the suit's hood. He had to press hard to get the viewfinder to line up with his vision and be close enough for him to see anything. After fiddling with the knobs and dials, Holmes felt like he was ready to get to work. He loaded up the extra film into the pouches on his suit, then walked awkwardly over to Katerina.
Where's your suit?
He asked.
I do not have one.
She replied.
I am not going with you.
Wait, what?
Holmes asked.
You're my guide.
And I guided you this far.
Katerina said.
Personally, if not for being paid, I would have nothing to do with this job or that camera.
You act like it's cursed or something.
Holmes said. Katerina shrugged.
They used to say that cameras steal your soul.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Holmes said.
You don't believe this camera can do that, do you? I sure hope you don't. You don't seem like you're crazy.
Katerina shrugged again, then got into the jeep.
I'll be waiting here. But if the sun goes down before you return, and you are on your own,
You'll leave me here at night alone?
Holmes asked.
You are never alone in the containment zone.
She said, and gave him a sad smile.
Good luck.
Which way?
Holmes asked. Katerina pointed into the woods.
Straight ahead. Once you see the concrete structure, do not go further. You should not have to anyway. There is plenty of wildlife to shoot in these woods. Like I said, you are never alone.
Holmes waited for her to say more. When she didn't, he nodded, then walked off, loaded down by the camera and film. After a few yards of walking, he turned and saw Katerina watching him carefully.
Hey!
He shouted.
I didn't ask about that first rule. What does it mean?
It means that what the camera captures, it keeps.
Katerina called back.
What the f*** does that even mean?
Holmes mumbled to himself, then turned and started walking again. It was nearly impossible to stay quiet in the suit, so after about a kilometer into the woods, Holmes decided to look for a place to stop, so his walking in the hazmat suit didn't scare off the wildlife. After a few more meters, he came to a fallen tree that looked like a good place to set up.
I'll just hang here and let the mutant woodland creatures find me.
Holmes muttered as he got the camera set up on the fallen tree and loaded it with a magazine of film. He checked the settings, double-checked that the magazine was loaded properly, then eased his hazmat-suited body down and waited. An hour passed, and not even a bird chirped from above. 2 hours passed, and Holmes thought he had heard squirrels up in the trees, but every time he looked up, he only saw bare branches. By the time Holmes was ready to give up, it had been 6 hours, and the sun was lowering in the sky. He calculated that if he broke down now and hiked back, he'd make it to the Jeep well before the sun set. So he stood and was about to grab up the gear when he saw it. A massive wolf about 20 meters north, just standing there, staring directly at Holmes. Holmes slowly moved his glove to the camera and pointed it without even checking the viewfinder. He had been alone with the camera for 6 hours, so he knew every single angle the lens would capture, and the wolf seemed to be standing dead center, ready for his close-up. The wolf did not move a muscle. For the entire length of the film inside the magazine, the wolf stood there, staring directly at Holmes. Then, when Holmes heard the clicking of the end of the film inside the magazine, he looked down at the camera and shut it off. When he looked back up, the wolf was gone. Holmes didn't know if he was incredibly lucky or incredibly unlucky. Yes, he captured an insanely rare sighting of a Chernobyl wolf, but at the same time, the wolf only stood there, which did not exactly make for compelling filmmaking. But it was the shot he got, and he was grateful he got anything, considering that the day was quickly ending. Yet, the disappointment over the lack of action stuck with him the entire hike back to the Jeep. It consumed him as Katerina drove them back to the rundown hotel that sat next to the rundown airport. Katerina had left him to his thoughts on the drive, but when they parked in front of the hotel, she turned and smiled at him.
You survived the day, Jason,
She said.
We should celebrate. They have a bar inside. Would you like to get a drink with me?
His mind still on the wolf footage, Holmes frowned and shook his head.
It's been a long couple of days of travel, and then driving right into work.
Holmes said.
Maybe a rain check on the drink?
You are serious?
Katerina asked.
Yeah, sorry, I'm wiped.
Holmes said, then got out of the Jeep. He grabbed his backpack and nodded toward the Jeep's back hatch.
Is it unlocked?
Why?
Katerina asked.
Because I'm bringing the gear in with me.
Holmes said.
No way I let that camera or the film out of my sight.
I'll bring it back to you in the morning,
Katerina said, all hospitality gone from her face and her voice.
I'd rather it stay with me,
Holmes said. Katerina looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. She got out, unlocked the back hatch, and stepped aside as Holmes grabbed the case out and lugged it to the hotel entrance.
See you at what time?
He asked over his shoulder, and was answered by squealing tires as Katerina sped away.
Okay.
He muttered, then lugged the crate into the hotel lobby. Check-in was easy, and Holmes was up in his room in minutes. He stripped down, showered, put on fresh clothes, then sat in the one chair in the room and stared at the crate. An hour went by before he called down to the front desk.
I need protective gloves. Do you have any?
He asked.
Of course.
The front desk clerk answered.
I will send them up.
Holmes laughed to himself at how easy that was. But then again, they were near the worst nuclear power plant accident in human history, so it stood to reason that they would have protective gear around. As soon as the gloves were delivered, Holmes put them on and opened the case. He lifted the tray with the camera and magazines on it, one of which he'd personally labeled as Wolf. Setting the tray aside on the rug, Holmes smiled at what was underneath.
Bingo,
he said as he pulled out the developing equipment and chemicals. He'd known an old documentary filmmaker years ago who always did his developing in the field as soon as he was done shooting, so Holmes wasn't surprised that the gear was in the crate.
Once you have suffered the heartbreak of losing your footage before it can be developed, you never want to suffer like that again,
the old filmmaker had said to Holmes. Holmes took it to heart and did the same with his still photography. He'd never developed film stock before, but he knew the basics. It took him an hour to get the bathroom set up as a darkroom. Then he took the Wolf magazine into the bathroom, along with the equipment and chemicals, closed the door, turned out the light, and got to work. Holmes was used to working by feel in total darkness, and he got the film reel into the developing canister without a problem. When his timer went off, he drained the developer liquid, then added the fixer. After the next timer, Holmes rinsed the negatives thoroughly with tap water. Then he flicked on the overhead light and worked out how to dry the film. There was a lot of cursing and failed attempts, but Holmes was able to get the film strung from the shower rod to the medicine cabinet, over the back of the door, then back to the sink. He had to squeeze his bulk under and around the film to get out of the bathroom, and when he was finally finished, he was exhausted, so he stripped to his briefs and crawled into bed. Except sleep didn't come. Holmes tossed and turned, and every time he thought he might drift off, the image of the wolf standing there and staring at him filled his exhausted mind. After what felt like an eternity, Holmes switched on the light, got up, and walked over to the strung-out negative. He squeezed back through it and into the bathroom so he could see the beginning of the strip. Picking up the end, Holmes held the negative up to the bathroom light. Of course, being a negative, the image was reversed. The huge silver and gray wolf was just a black shadow in the film, but it was still a marvel to see. Holmes carefully followed the negative and studied the wolf frame after frame after. Then he pulled up and frowned. The wolf was gone from the next frame.
What the f***?
Holmes mumbled as he quickly scanned the rest of the negative. No wolf. It just wasn't there. Holmes went back to the beginning and cried out when he saw the first frames he'd looked at were empty of the wolf too.
No!
He said.
No, 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 no!
Back and forth he went, checking every single individual frame, but the wolf was gone from the film. With his back to the bedroom and his head in his hands, Holmes knelt down and tried not to cry. Then he heard a snuffling behind him, and he stood up so fast that he tangled himself in the still hanging negative. A low growl filled his ears when he was free of the film and could turn around. There, standing in dark contrast to everything in the room, was the wolf. Full-sized, growling, and in negative, just like the wolf in the film.
What?
Holmes whispered. Then the wolf leaped at Holmes so fast he didn't even have time to scream. When Holmes is finished telling his story, Donovan and Carter share a look between themselves.
Your tea is cold,
Holmes says, and points at Donovan's mug.
Want me to warm it up for you?
No, I'm good.
Donovan says.
That's a story.
Carter says.
A wolf in a film comes to life and attacks you in your hotel room. Pretty crazy.
It was.
Holmes says.
I spent years having surgeries to get my face to look even this good.
Holmes laughs. Donovan and Carter do not.
But I thought, and I'm only saying this because I read it somewhere,
Donovan says, even though Carter is staring daggers at him to stay quiet,
that you were attacked in the woods near Chernobyl. You know, like a normal wolf attack.
A normal wolf attack?
Holmes says and laughs harder.
No. That's just the story put out there by the Ukrainian authorities. It was the wolf from the negative that nearly killed me. I know that for sure.
Huh. Okay.
Donovan says and stands up.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah,
Carter says and stands up also. He shakes the backpack.
We heard your story. Can we do the deal now? I'd like to get home before dawn.
of course.
Holmes says and stands as well.
Just give me a minute.
As soon as Holmes leaves, Carter and Donovan turn to each other, their eyes wide.
What the actual dude?
Carter snaps.
I know.
Donovan responds.
Sorry I didn't listen earlier. We need to get the out.
Here you go.
Holmes says as he carries a crate into the kitchen and sets it on the table, nearly knocking the tea mugs off.
1 camera and 1 magazine of film, plus equipment in the bottom for developing.
He leans over the crate and stares hard at Donovan and Carter.
But I wouldn't do any developing if I were you.
He says, then waits a second and breaks out laughing.
Oh, you guys are the best. You should see the looks on your faces.
Carter doesn't say a word and holds out the backpack. Holmes takes it with a grateful nod.
How did you end up with this stuff?
Donovan asks.
Dude, let's just go, okay?
Carter says.
He's probably...
When I finally got out of the hospital, the crate was waiting for me in my apartment.
Holmes says.
I don't know how or why, but there it was.
With only 1 magazine of film left to use?
Donovan asks.
No, the rest were there.
Holmes says.
I've used a couple over the years once I moved out here. It gets lonely in the country.
Footfalls echo down from the 2nd floor, and both Carter and Donovan look up.
Cool.
Donovan says, then hurries around the kitchen table to Carter.
Well, it was great meeting you.
You too, boys.
Holmes says.
I'll walk you out.
No, we're good.
Donovan says, and he and Carter hurry out of the kitchen with the crate. They are down the hall and at the front door when a stair squeaking gets their attention. They both turn, and at the very top of the stair stands a person in negative. The person lifts a hand and waves. Donovan and Carter stare for a second, then both scream and run from the house with the crate. They scramble down the porch steps and hurry to the Camry's trunk.
Come on!
Carter snaps as Donovan struggles to unlock the trunk. Once he has it, they lift the cart inside, slam the trunk, and both jump into the car. Donovan has the engine turned over and is racing away from the house before Carter even has his seatbelt buckled.
Jesus Christ!
Carter yells and shoves away from the passenger window when they are halfway down the dirt road.
What?
Donovan exclaims, swerving the car from the sudden shock of Carter's yelling.
I think I saw a wolf!
Carter says. Donovan doesn't reply. The 2 men remain silent the entire drive back, as both try desperately not to think about what they saw or what Holmes told them. They especially try not to think about what's in the trunk. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button to get notified every time I upload a new video. You can also check out some more of my animated horror stories right here.